big industries and employees running the organization sitting at home. And even the government, which is unimaginable that uh, they will ever work from home, it did happen in front of our eyes. And many experts in the sector say कि अभी तो party शुरू हुई है. The transformation has just begun. अभी तो हमने कुछ देखा ही नहीं है. So Elets is doing this conference, a digital transformation conclave, to discuss what are the transformation happening across the sectors. And we have experts from several sectors today, from the pharma to manufacturing to automobiles to healthcare to government, retail, FMCG, logistics, several other sectors who are being represented in the agenda today. So the biggest transformation which we have seen in the last 10 years is the power of Aadhaar. And Aadhaar card is like Aadhaar number is with everyone in this room. Aadhaar is being used for driving license to passport to bank accounts to your UPI and to hundreds of other things. It has almost transformed our lives. Each of us is using our mobile payments. Each of us is like got vaccinated with our Aadhaar numbers with a fantastic app of COVID. So today's inaugural keynote address is by Somnesh Joshi ji, who is the DDG of UADI, and I will request him to talk about this Aadhaar journey. And before I do that, we will go for lamp lighting. So I will request my colleague Pooja to invite dignitaries on this stage for the same.
Thank you so much, sir. I would request our dignitaries to please come up on stage for the lamp lighting. Dr. Ravi Gupta, founder and CEO, Elets Technomedia. Please, sir, if you could please come. Mr. Sunmesh Joshi, Deputy Director General, UIDAI, Government of India. I would also like to request Mr. Nikhil Chaturvedi, Group Chief Digital Officer, JSW Steel Limited. Sir, if you could please come up on stage for the lamp lighting. Mr. Sunil Kumar, Senior Director and Global Head, Digital Transformation, Operational Excellence and Cultural Transformation, CIPLA. Sir, if you could please come up on stage for the lamp lighting ceremony. Ms. Shalini Singh, Manager Sales, Map My India. Ma'am, if you could please come up. Ms. Janvi R, CEO and co-founder, New Metric. So, ma'am, if you could please come up on stage for the lamp lighting. And I would also like to request Mr. Ravi Shankar, who is the Vice President of Progressive Next. Mr. Nikhil Chaturvedi, EVP, Global Chief Digital Officer, JSW Limited.
सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा ॐ गणपतये नमः ॐ गणपतये नमः गणपतये नमः गणपतये नमो नमः श्री सिद्धिविनायक नमो नमः अष्टविनायक नमो नमः गणपति बाप्पा मोरया.
Along with this, we would like to move ahead to the next segment, the digital launch of the CIO magazine and BFSI magazine. Sir, if you could, Manu, please, get the magazines on stage. CIO magazine, digital magazine. Yeah.
Let me give a small intro about our CIO magazine that we are creating a portal. It's called cio.eletsonline.com, which is the leading portal on the CIO sector. What are the challenges which each of the CIOs across verticals are facing? And we are also launching this magazine in the presence of Sumnesh ji. And this magazine is called CIO, Elets CIO, and the focus is on covering the various sectors, and in each sector how technology like artificial intelligence, cloud, data center, security, all the issues are getting covered. So सुनील जी आपके प्रेजेंस में ये होगा we are doing, and leading CIOs from across the sectors are being featured here, and our agenda is to like keep this momentum on and cover a diverse range of sectors, diverse range of industries through our magazine. So with this, we will move to the next stage of the program, and let me invite uh, Sumnesh Joshi ji, who is the Deputy Director General of UIDAI, to deliver his inaugural keynote address, and you will be amazed by like his speech, the depth he has. He's considered one of the biggest experts in the country on the Aadhaar ecosystem, and he will not only tell you about the past 10 years of Aadhaar, but he will also tell you about the next 5 years of Aadhaar. So over to you, Sumnesh. Thank you.
So, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Ravi, for the nice introduction. And first of all, I would like to thank Ravi for giving me an opportunity to speak at the Digital Transformation Conclave. And of course, I will talk about Aadhaar. So, we all knows that, and typically in the last 7 to 8 years, we are witnessing digital transformation in every walk of our life. Maybe something you are experiencing in your day-to-day life also. And it's a very fast-paced, transformation is taking place in last 7 to 8 years, and we are accelerating towards the digital economy. And government of India has set a target that we should be $1 trillion economy by 2025. So, and maybe recently concluded Digital India Week in the Gandhinagar, and Honorable Prime Minister has launched schemes. So one of the scheme is the India's Tech Global. That now we till now we can say that okay, we are embracing the technology developed by other countries, but now we are in a position to showcase our technology, and we are leading the technology in the digital transformation. And another scheme, so through the India's Tech Global, maybe all the uh, digital public good or public infrastructure platform like Aadhaar, UPI, Umang. So other countries can come to us, and we will share the knowledge on these public digital platforms or infrastructures. And one of the portal that is the My Schemes, as on date, it's very difficult to find out whether I am eligible for a scheme or not. So many schemes in the central government, and we don't know who is beneficiary for which scheme. So through this portal, you simply enter some basic data. It's a menu driven. You should visit, and then they will. The portal will throw that okay, you are eligible for this and this scheme. Maybe even someone is eligible for the Mudra loan. So immediately, yes, you are eligible for the Mudra loan. So all the benefit schemes are coming. So the key is here that India has taken a lead to create the digital public infrastructure, all open source sort of thing. And we are showing the way. So one of the best example, of course, is the Aadhaar. It's again digital identity public infrastructure, and everyone using this foundation. Aadhaar means foundation, so everyone is using this foundation to build many services, many products based on the Aadhaar. And now UPI is another digital public good infrastructure, and many companies are now using whether it's a phone pay or any bank application or now Google Pay or now WhatsApp. Now, while doing chatting, you can transfer. See, no one has thought that it's so simple to transfer the money, and it's just 10 rupees, 200 rupees, or maybe 10,000, 50,000, depends upon the limit that you set. So and then other digital platform is the DigiLocker that many companies are using the DigiLocker to create the services and different products, and the Ayushman Bharat has also come. So lots of things are happening in the government of India, and we are in the creation of the digital public good infrastructure, and one can consume it and build their service and products. So now with respect to the Aadhaar, so everyone is having the Aadhaar, and day in, day out we are using Aadhaar. So Aadhaar has changed the way or transformed the way we are delivering the services. Now it is very in the convenient or the cost effective manner we are giving the services using the Aadhaar. And Aadhaar electronic KYC. See, what Aadhaar is when we are given the Aadhaar. So we have a system that yes, one can authenticate online anywhere, 24 into 7. So one is using the Aadhaar authentication, so we can say yes or no, the person is the same or not. And then another product is the electronic KYC, electronically know your customer. Now everyone is aware about these terms, Aadhaar KYC. And using this eKYC, so many things are happening. So first is because how the transformation will take place. For that, in today's world, we require a bank account. So financial inclusion is very, very important, to deliver any kind of service, because banking is required. So earlier, when the eKYC was not there, it was very difficult, to reach out the persons and to open the bank account. But using this Aadhaar as a foundation of Aadhaar eKYC, around 40 crore plus bank accounts were opened under Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana. And, that has changed the totally landscape in our country. Because earlier when we are giving the benefit, it's going to the cash. And maybe you have heard that earlier that we say that if 1 rupee benefit is given, only 20 paisa is reaching to the beneficiaries. But now the 100% direct benefit transfer, this is the transformation is taken place in our country. And because of this direct benefit transfer, around 2.2 lakh crores of rupees we have saved on account of the benefits. So see, so it's not only the saving, but the transformation in the sense the convenience. Immediately, suppose scheme has announced, so within no time the benefits are reaching to the beneficiaries. So with these bank accounts, and another thing that happened, because when accounts are there, because UPI is a payment platform. So if bank accounts are there, now you can find using that bank account the QR code. Even the sabji wala, small shops, kirana wala, everyone who has the QR code. Even you see in the villages also the people are showing the QR code. So the backbone is the Aadhaar, and then QR code is the, of course, the bank account represents the bank account, and they are receiving the payment. Now again, for the money things are happening. Maybe I can transfer the money, I can receive the money. So all these things and happening, and WhatsApp, of course, I give the example. So this is really big digital transformation that has taken place in our country. Now, behind the scene, all basic infrastructure. So one is the Aadhaar dam. We require a connectivity. So now we are having around more than 80 crore internet connection in our country, and now 50 crore smartphones are there. because to do all to run all these applications, we require the smartphone, the 50 crore. But now in the UPI, it's not only smartphone. Even someone is having the feature phone that can also be used for the transfer of the money using the star 99 hash on the USSD platform. So we are showcasing that this digital public good infrastructure like Aadhaar and UPI actually transformed the landscape, the service delivery system. And then sometimes people say, what about the internet literacy? So the definition of the literacy in terms of the using the technology is different as compared to the literacy that we think that someone has 10th pass or the graduate sort of thing. Maybe someone is totally illiterate as such, no formal education, but they are good to use the applications. They can order the food, they can order the car also easily, and they are listening the videos, and after listening the videos, they are doing so many things. And in the pandemic, the online platform for the learning. So all these things, because of the smartphone, has happened. So the kind of literacy is there, and everywhere all across country, because we have seen the data now. The cost of the data is lowest in India as compared to the globe, and people are consuming lots of data. And the best part is when I saw a person who is working in Mumbai, and he hails from the Odisha, and I saw that he was doing the video call to the family members. Otherwise, earlier, once in a year they are visiting their hometown native and seeing their children. But now on daily basis, they are interacting using the video call. So this is the transformation is taking place in our country. So the key is here the interoperability, because whatever we are designing now in the digital transformation. So Aadhaar has showcased that yes, if we have a open source thing, API based things, right? So one can develop many application and services. So because of that, these things are happening. And one story I will share that when I interacted with Sabjiwala, so the kind of he was totally happy that with the QR code. When I asked you what is the advantage in the QR code, he said earlier 51 rupees was the bill and consumer gives 100 rupees. So generally वो 1 रुपया चले जाता था. So now with the QR code, he's saving that 1 rupee also. So it's the hidden power of the digital transformation. And otherwise, in the absence of the change, many small shopkeepers are losing 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 1 rupee, 2 rupee, and for them 100 rupees, 200 rupees is a good amount. So now in the healthcare sector also, Aadhaar has created helped. The COVID platform, everyone is aware that 200 crore doses we have given using the COVID platform, and now Ayushman Bharat. So this ABHA, this Ayushman Bharat health account is there. So because Aadhaar is getting leveraged everywhere. So in the healthcare industry also leveraging the Aadhaar, this, another platform has been created, and we are going to witness a huge transformation in the healthcare industry. Maybe there are speakers from the healthcare industry. They will further tell how it's going to shape and how fast it will happen. Because in the era of this IoT, many sensors will be there in the remote area. So we require a trained or skilled personnel, so who can use those sensors, right? And whatever the diagnosis is taking place, immediately the specialist sitting in the Mumbai or any other metro cities can diagnose and give the okay, this is a prescription. So this is the power of the technology that we are going to harness in the coming time. And other than this health care, in the fintech space, the mutual fund also, right? Or the micro insurance, the micro credit, loaning. So maybe, I don't know, in the audience also, you have witnessed this the paperless thing, because Aadhaar has created a paperless thing. Without giving any paper, you can authenticate yourself. So if suppose you want to open a national pension saving account, you simply go on the website, right, and do eKYC, e-sign will happen, and automatically NPS account is opened, and now next moment you start operating it. So this is the power. I remember the long back when we started the Aadhaar project, and here in the Mumbai, in the corporate, the Machimar Nagar, and that time the then Secretary, U.S. Treasury Secretary visited us, and we were showcasing how Aadhaar can be used to open the bank account. And he was amazed that even in the United States, it takes 24 hours to open the account or activate the account. And here, at the instant account is opened and the bank transfer is happening, you are receiving the payments, all these things. So Aadhaar as a foundation, right? All the state governments are using in the direct benefit transfer as well as to provide the services, all the application forms. And now in the driving license, you can see earlier learning license you have to visit, but now there's no need to visit the RTO office for learning license. Right? Only for the permanent license you have to visit. So everything is happened based on the Aadhaar as a foundation. So things are now very simple, and people are very much happy, and the kind of convenience we have created. Earlier, the cost of acquisition of a customer is very high in the remote area for the KYC, and that time the insurance companies and the mutual companies are not going because after making so much efforts, and suppose out of 100 piece they get only 2 or 3 customers, so it was not viable. But now with the technological advancement and using the Aadhaar, the cost of acquisition is reduced, and they are getting the market from the rural area also. And by seeing the environment, the Aadhaar has also reduced the authentication charges from rupees 20 to rupees 3. So it's a drastic reduction in the charges. So people can embrace Aadhaar more and more. And further in Aadhaar, maybe Aadhaar we are promoting, and maybe slowly with the increase in the number of smartphone and people are getting aware. So they are downloading Aadhaar. And I don't know if audience, if everyone is having or not, but if not, then please download Aadhaar. There's no need to give this PVC Aadhaar card or some your laminated Aadhaar card or Aadhaar letter. Show your Aadhaar anywhere at the airport or anywhere you want to show. And now Aadhaar is coming with the digitally sent QR code. This again the power in that. So there's no need that you should have the internet to authenticate the Aadhaar. So one can use the scanner, and the scanner is available on the Play Store or iOS. So one can read that QR code, and genuinity, you can verify the QR code. So no one can submit the fake Aadhaar card. Otherwise, many earlier when we used to take the mobile connection on the name of the KYC, we don't know what type of document is going, because it's very difficult to check the document, at the face value. But Aadhaar is only the identity. You can check that yes, this person having this Aadhaar. And the best part is this Aadhaar is linked with the biometric, and because of that, you have named a person as an Aadhaar number. Maybe today my name is Sumnesh Joshi, and maybe tomorrow I can change my name, but Aadhaar is not going to be changed. So government has given benefit to me, means to Aadhaar number that I belong, my biometrics. So it is not going to be changed. Maybe my face will change, my name will change, my address will change. For government, I am a beneficiary, Aadhaar number such and such. So we have used this Aadhaar number to remove many fakes and duplicates from the system. And another success story, and it's very much talked about across the globe also, and people are appreciating it, that is in the public distribution system. And in public distribution system, I don't know how many are aware, earlier beneficiaries are attached with a particular ration shop, that you have to buy your ration in this shop only, and the shopkeeper may be rude and not behaving properly, and but there's no other alternative for the consumer. He can't go to any other shop, so they have to listen to the shopkeeper. Maybe they can complain, but ultimately the shopkeeper was boss. So and again there's a pilferage. Sometimes they keep the ration card of all the beneficiaries with them, and maybe instead of 5 kg they are giving 2 kg. But now with this Aadhaar-based public distribution system, Aadhaar-enabled public distribution system, AAPDS, all these things have gone away. Now, at the time of taking the ration with the fingerprint authentication, the machine is saying, okay, now you have taken 2 kg of wheat or 2 kg of rice. So it's a voice-enabled things. And portability, like mobile portability. In the ration cards, there is portability. So in a taluka or a district, so this shop coverage is not behaving properly, okay, I will go to another shop and buy the ration. So automatically now all shopkeepers knows if I will not behave properly, no one will come to my shop. As shop will be shut. And not only in the taluka, it's across India. That is a one nation, one ration card scheme. So suppose a family from the Bihar has come, and maybe the male head of the family has come for working in Mumbai, and so ration card belongs to the Bihar, but that person can take the ration in the Mumbai, right? Maybe some part of the ration he can, and the family can take the ration in the Bihar itself. So this is the power. Otherwise, earlier what will happen? Maybe he belongs to BPL family living in Mumbai, but not able to draw the ration. So this Aadhaar has changed, the deliveries in a very drastic manner, totally transformed and transparent, and people are very, very happy. And to further see any scheme or product when we deliver, maybe it's based on Aadhaar or any other application services, we require a system in place. So, of course, the state governments are partnering, and state governments are having their own customer facilitation center. But the central government and the MIT have 5 lakhs, more than 5 lakh CSC persons working across countries, and they are delivering so many services. And another example I will give you, maybe I don't know how many are aware. Uh, Typically, our elderly persons, senior citizen who are pensioners, and they have to visit a bank branch, once in a year to show that yes, I am alive, and a kind of life certificate they have to give. Imagine 90 years, 95 years, they have to visit physically earlier. But now with this Aadhaar-based authentication or the Jivan Praman Patra is available online, life is very simple. And the India Post Payment Bank, all the postmen, 1.5 lakh postmen across countries, are equipped with the smartphone and equipped with the Aadhaar-enabled device. You just simply call them. So they will come to home, they charge only 70 rupees and generate the Jivan Praman Patra. And so this is how, and they are opening the bank account also. So postmen are reaching across country, because postman is only the person, or I can say the postal department rather, they have the reach across country anywhere. Maybe even in the remotest village, the postman is going maybe once in 7 days or 15 days, at least in one. So postmen are covering the entire nation, and they are equipped with this Aadhaar-enabled payment system. Now this Jivan Praman Patra, and they are doing the mobile update in the Aadhaar also now. We have empowered them to update the mobile, because if mobile is linked with the Aadhaar, then rest of the things, the address updation, you can do the online, because only for mobile we require the biometric. And as far as the connectivity is concerned, because we require the connectivity, the internet, to give Aadhaar-based services. Of course, offline QR code is a separate thing, but for the authentication purpose. So under the BharatNet project, Government of India is committed to ensure the optical fiber in all the 6 lakhs villages. So that project is in the full swing, and we hope that this will deliver, and people, definitely will get the services, whatever we are making. So I will not take much of the time. One new thing, maybe you heard about the open, the ONDC, the Open Network Digital Commerce. So these type of things, Government of India is pushing, because if ONDC is there, so anyone can start his own business, sell online, their own commercial platform. There's no need that the Flipkart is separate, Amazon is separate. So there's no need to invest creation of this, platforms. That public platform can be used, just plug and play, just like UPI. And now unified health interface is also coming. So where all the labs and all the doctors or the patients, so they can also connect. And because here in the industry, people are there because you are innovators and you are going to create many services and products. So of course, technology has many, many advantages. But when we use this technology, we should be very cautious also, because the way we are advancing the technology, the other side of the coin is the security and the privacy also. That should a major concern. So we have to take care all required steps to ensure the security of the data of the consumer. And typically, when we are having this healthcare application, etc., where the privacy is of the utmost concern, So we have to ensure that proper firewalls and how we can have a data anonymization. So all the techniques we have to use. Cyber security and the privacy. And I think you have, I don't know how many you are aware that the data privacy bill, right, is already there, and very soon it will become a law. And then maybe again, some changes will happen in the ecosystem, the way we are working. So we have to ensure that yes, whosoever is taking the data, because right now we are giving the data anywhere, maybe on the mall when we are shopping, we are giving the data, and we are getting many unsolicited calls also, that we think why someone is calling immediately. Suppose you purchase the insurance policy, and maybe some other will call, okay, you want something else. So the data is moving from here and there. So right now there is no control on the data. So that we have to ensure in future in terms of the uh, data privacy bill. Now, and the lastly, I'll say that what Honorable Prime Minister has said, that the next 10 years of coming 10 years as a decade. So we have to, work towards the technology. So how it can be used for convenience for the citizen of our country, and we have to showcase our products to the other countries. So instead of consuming the technology, we have to become a leader. So in the next 10 years, lots of things will happen, and government of India has committed, to give more and more push, and startups are coming. And Aadhaar being a foundation ID for all the product and scheme will continue to improve. And recently, maybe you have heard about the new initiative taken by UIDI is the face authentication. So we are set for the next disruption with the face authentication, because many times, other senior citizens or sometimes BD worker, etc., their biometrics are worn out, so maybe they are not able to authenticate. But now the face, they can authenticate, and it's the easy and the contactless thing. So there's no need to put the fingerprint. So using this face authentication as a contactless authentication mechanism, and smartphone will become an authenticator, and many services will be given using the face authentication on the smartphone in future. So thanks a lot. In a 10 or 15 minutes, just I would like to, I don't know how long I would take, but I wish you all the best. I've gone through the agenda, and many experts, domain experts are there, and all the varied sectors, different sectors are there. So maybe you are going to learn a lot with this conference. And once again, thank you very much, and thank you, Raviji, for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful presentation. We would like to honor you with a small token of appreciation today. Sunmesh Joshi ji, Deputy Director General UIDAI, Government of India. Thank you so much. As we move on, now we will have a technology presentation of the named by Employee Service Transformation for the Future of Work with Work Elevate. I would like to welcome on stage Mr. Pratik Garg, who is the founder and managing director, Progressive Infotech Private Limited. Sir, if you could please come up on stage. A big round of applause, please. And Mr. Pranav Katiyar, who is the Inside Sales Executive, Progressive Infotech, for the demo. A short bio of Mr. Pratik Garg. He's an entrepreneur and technology visionary. He's the founder and managing director of Progressive Infotech, a digital workplace service, transformation and full stack infrastructure services company with over 800 technical resources and 150 plus active clients and an international footprint in the US. He has seeded, funded, He has seed funded and is currently mentoring a Silicon Valley startup called Centilices, an intelligent cloud management platform. He is the co-chairman for artificial intelligence at the Confederation of Indian Industry. We welcome sir, and please you go ahead with the technology presentation. Thank you so much.
Just make your audio. Just see if your audio out is default audio. You put audio. Yes, this like if it doesn't play, then use this. Okay. A very good morning to all of you. It's a great pleasure to be here today amongst the august audience, and thank you, Elets, Dr. Ravi Gupta, and for giving us this opportunity to come and talk. My name is Prateek Garg, and I've been a technology entrepreneur for over 3 decades. Uh, these are crazy times, if if you allow me to say that. And we just heard Mr. Joshi enumerate the pace of transformation, and uh, digital transformation is kind of in many ways become abused. When I look back, people like me, who started some 30 years ago, we believe that we were doing digital transformation. I think what has largely happened is the pace of technology innovation has changed, and technology has got democratized with the advent of mobile and cloud. So today, irrespective of what your size is, you can afford technology, and that's really what's really happening. So great. I am today going to talk about. We are hearing and seeing a lot of things. Last 2 years of pandemic actually accelerated, and in the industry, we believe what would have taken 5 years actually happened in a year. All this was happening, somewhere the end user, the employee, who's the real consumer in business enterprises, we thought was not being adequately looked after. While we were talking about big things at the government level, with things like UIDAI or the COVIN or UPI, and now the ONDC launch that has happened, the soft launch, and we believe these are all game changers. And on a commercial level, we've seen applications, collaboration applications like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, the public clouds like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, and thus and so. So jumping in the interest of time, let me just jump in and very quickly uh, give you give you the context of who we are. So we have been in business for 25 years. Our company is called Progressive, and now we are a group of companies. We have over 150 active customers, over 1,000 plus employees, tech employees. Over 95% of our business is annuity. So what it really means is we are in the business of helping customers manage technology. So we are a technology agnostic managed service provider, and that's what we do. Okay, we are a zero debt company. Recently, we
We also have the honor of the badge Great Place to Work. Gartner, incidentally, has been very kind on us. We've been on their Magic Quadrant for public cloud managed services global, and we are also on the Asia Pacific marketplace. So as I said earlier, we are a full stack infrastructure services provider, right from a service desk, to a hybrid data center, cloud, security, network, and workplace management. We do it all, and we have some very large customers across India with the names like Dabur, Suzlon, Grasim. So some of these big customers that we manage pan-India. Our cloud managed services business is hosted in another company under the brand called Elets. This is a company which, this is a product actually which we invested very early on with the advent of cloud. This was founded at Stanford University in Palo Alto. And today it is amongst the top 5 cloud management platforms in the world. And as a matter of disclosure, today I must also tell you that the CoWIN app that all of you consumed, our company manages the infrastructure for CoWIN right from the day of its launch. All right, it runs off AWS, and we've run it 24/7. Very happy to tell you we've had a zero downtime on CoWIN right through. So some of the very, very large cloud infrastructures are what we manage. The problem we are solving and how do we differentiate is, the IT industry, as all of us know, especially out of India, has grown throwing people at problems. What we're changing is we're bringing automation. So Centralytics is an automation platform which helps customers bring in best practice as far as public cloud management is concerned. It is platform agnostic, so it supports Azure, AWS, and Google. You have visibility, you have optimization, you have tag management, you have security and health visibility, you have cloud automation, so you can automate a lot of things on the cloud so that the repetitive tasks get taken care of. And of course, there's a lot of governance and reporting that you can do through it. So today, I'm really focused on talking about future of work. Well, with this whole digital transformation and the rapid pace of the digital transformation, what has changed? The future of work has changed. And what has changed in future of work? Today we work anywhere, anytime. Hybrid is the new normal. We work from, either from offices or from wherever we are. You're sitting here, I'm sure some of you must be working alongside, listening to. There is this great resignation wave we all heard about. The last 2 years have seen everybody seem to be carrying a resignation letter in their pockets. So, reasons could be whatever, but in the tech industry, not only in the tech industry, I hear this in fintech, I hear this in health. There's a huge phenomena of people leaving jobs and looking at different avenues. So, and of course, the end user services, which traditionally we've been looking at as from an SLA standpoint, that we're delivering on the SLA as service providers, as customers, you guys have been setting the SLAs. But what is really shifting is customers no more want to be talking about SLAs. They are wanting to talk about XLA. And XLA is an experience level agreement. What is the experience that you're delivering? So that's what really is changing. And all this is really gravitating towards what we believe is going to be a single employee service desk. So whatever an employee needs to function in an enterprise effectively is gravitating to an employee service desk. And Work Elevate is a platform that we built over these last 3 years, is trying to solve this problem and create a digital way of delivering services. And one of the reasons for that is that the shape of services is changing. We've grown in an era where, hardware break fix was the core service that an end user needed. With the hardware becoming so reliable that we very hardly see any failures now, or very few. The service consumption is actually becoming very service centric. It's becoming very application centric, and therefore there has to be a better way of solving these problems or events or tickets, whatever you want to call them, than throwing people at them. And you got to be empowering the employees to be able to solve these problems and improve their experience. And that's exactly where work elevate comes in. So here's a short video.
Businesses are running hybrid. Employees are working anytime, anywhere, and on any device. Workplace services have evolved from being hardware-centric to service-centric, and now experience-centric. The Great Resignation is the reality, and there is a huge tech resources crunch resulting in hiring challenges. Hence, it's time to redesign workplace services, and we must shift from SLAs to XLAs to elevate the employee experience and business outcomes. Here's Work Elevate, a digital workplace service automation platform with support services. Work Elevate provides chatbot, self-service, self-healing, endpoint, and ticket management. Employees get all the support they need through the chatbot, while crucial tickets get resolved by live agents available 24/7. And guess what? We can also provide on-call and on-site support. Work Elevate today to experience the future of work.
All right. So Work Elevate is actually designed to provide end user service at scale. What it really means is that we are automating a lot of things, a lot of repetitive stuff gets taken care of at the platform level. And if it doesn't get taken care at that level, then we have live agents sitting behind to pick up those tickets and solve. And our success rate there, up to 90% tickets, we are able to resolve with no touch at all. All right. So it essentially has 5 pillars. It has a rule-based chatbot, 24/7. It functions. So in a work from anywhere, anytime environment, this is very powerful. Self-service, so one-click solution for quick resolution. So we give some standard one-click solutions, but we can customize these one-click solutions to meet your requirements after we analyze your tickets. So a lot of the other tickets can get resolved just by the user themselves on a click. There is a self-healing agent which sits in the machine. It is constantly monitoring and triggering proactively any issues that might come up, so that the ticket doesn't even happen, the events don't happen. Then there is a managed endpoint that's available, so remote troubleshooting is possible through this. We are able to manage the endpoints, push patches, and do a lot of other stuff remotely from an admin side. And then, of course, ticket management, all kinds. It integrates with any ticket management software which has an API, and therefore you can do ticket management right from here using the chatbot. Some typical use cases that we currently have working for us are IT ops service desk. So things like self-service, software provisioning, printer, meeting room management, printer installation, etc., can be done from here. HR ops service desk, so onboarding, offboarding of employees, travel expense, leave management, benefits claim, etc., can also be catered to through the chatbot. And field employees typically are, in most organizations, are the least served, because they're out of sight, out of mind, serving their customers or delivering goods across the country. So this is a platform which helps you set up the employee-facing processes and automating them. So these are some of the use cases, but if you have any other process that is running in your organization, we can build those FAQs and roll that out. To be able to meet the needs of businesses of all size, we created 3 offerings here. So first is what we call as a V-Start, which is just the platform. So if your services are running internally or you have some provider who's doing it, just the platform will help you bring the cost down and bring more agility to your business and enhance the end user experience. If you want the service also to be done, then we have a 24/7 backend working with live agents. The front end for the user is the platform, the chatbot, and at the backend, the live agents keep monitoring, and the tickets that come to them, they resolve them remotely. And then, of course, a V Enterprise, if you are a large company and you would perhaps need some people on site or some locations on call, then we can integrate this whole thing, platform plus remote plus on site, to give you an enterprise scale service. The return on investment impact we're seeing is that this investment is we're able to return this money back to you in the first year in 5 months itself. So what you spend for a year comes back to you in 5 months, only at an OPEX level. But then there are benefits on productivity gain. The time to ticket resolution is in minutes instead of hours. So all this releases so much productive time back to the employees. So if you add all that, then this is a no-brainer. And then, of course, it helps you with your CapEx savings, help your optimization of your hardware refresh cycles, better software utilization. So all of it you can do through this platform and really multiply the investment, ROI on your investment. So in short, the 4 reasons we believe you should switch to Work Elevate. One is the employee experience, the single biggest reason in today's great resignation era, change the employee experience. 24/7 service, so work from anywhere, anytime, which if you put people on the job, the costs are phenomenal to create a 24/7 service ops. Cost reduction, at least 30% reduction, we promise on whatever you're spending today for your employee services. And of course, this is omni-channel. This integrates with all ITSM, HRMS, CRM platforms. The chatbot can sit out of any of these unified collaboration platforms like Teams, like Slack. If you're using, it integrates with WhatsApp as well. So you can, the employees can interact with this platform through any of these digital platforms. So that in short is, and some of our early adopters who are using this platform, some of the big names here, across industry sectors. So it is industry vertical agnostic. We are successful here in India and overseas. Our first overseas customer was actually in UAE, Ministry of Finance. They're using it, and currently we are deploying it at Max Healthcare and Grasim. So some of these names are, they're big brands, big companies who are using it. So the proof of the pudding is really in eating, and therefore I have my colleague Pranav, who is otherwise a rapper, a lyricist, and what else you do? All right. So, but today he's been kind enough to be here to give you a live demo of how the platform works. Over the next 5 minutes, I request him to take over, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Pratik sir. So as sir said, this chatbot and the solution of ours integrates with Teams, with Slack, with WhatsApp. So today what I'll be taking you through would be the end users forefront, the chatbot. We have an admin console as well and an agent as well. But in the respect of time, I'll keep it short and concise. So here you can see the reason here is actually, whenever in a traditional way, if there is a ticket that needs to be generated or if there is an issue that the end user is facing. Just yeah. Okay. Thank you. So whenever there is an issue that happens on the end user's front, they either pick up the phone, call the person in the IT, or they have to log in the ticket, and that process can take up to hours. I mean, based on the availability of the IT person, which ends up in a frustrating experience for the end users. Here, what we are providing is a one-stop instant solution wherein they can come in and say, initiate the conversation. So I say, let's say, I want to deploy a software. Uh, and I have all these features available here, which the chatbot provides me with. I can manage my AD account right from here. I can raise the tickets also right from here, also see the statuses of the tickets. I can deploy the softwares available to me. I can troubleshoot a lot of the issues, whether it is Outlook related, disk space related, network related, and I can also configure my printers right from here. So as I said, let's say I want to go for software deployment. How this works is the admin has to do a one-time activity wherein they have to whitelist certain softwares to the end users based on their roles and the access you want to provide them with. Once that is done, all these softwares would be available right here, and they don't need any additional admin credentials or approvals to do the same. So if I say I want to install Firefox, I can just click on Firefox and it is gonna start installing. So here you see, it says that it is initiated successfully. I also get a pop-up saying that it is installing. Every time the end user does any activity on their front, they receive a pop-up which tells them what is happening in the background. And once the activity is completed, they will also get a pop-up of, the installation is successful. We also have then the feedback mechanism where the end users can provide the feedback if they're happy with the solution or if they're not happy with the resolution. So that can be provided from here. Now you see Firefox is installed successfully. It took less than a minute for me to install, and I can now start working on Firefox or any software for that matter which is available for me. Now, in case, as you saw the pop-up that came up, it's restarted installing again, so that you have the software available with you. In case I want to, let's say, change my password, if I want to reset my password, I can go into account management and I can select the action that I'm trying to do. So here it would be reset password. This reset password activity is a multi-factor authenticated activity. You can avail the auto-generated password as well, or you can set your own. All you would need to do is answer the security questions that you would have set up. Otherwise, an OTP would be sent to your registered phone number, fetched right from your AD. So once that is provided, you would be able to get the new password, and then you would be able to log into your session. It's that easy. I wouldn't do that, otherwise I would be logged out. So I'll just quit this flow. And now you see Firefox is installed successfully. The pop-up that had come up of configuration info not working has been resolved right here. Now the issue that usually comes up is selecting the options available is not really intuitive on a chatbot. I mean, we all are used to typing. So this chatbot is also NLP based. Let's say if I say that my system is slow, I say my laptop is slow. It would understand what I'm looking for, and it would give me the relevant troubleshooter which it thinks would resolve this issue. So here I said that my laptop is slow. It has given me options like clear disk space, or if there is a disk error troubleshooter that needs to be there. Let's say I want to run the delete temp file action, so I can click delete temp file and it would start executing again. and it is when it is resolved, it will give you the resolution is applied successfully. I can also give the feedback right from here. I'll say I am satisfied, and in the backend it is still going to keep running in order to cater to the issue that is there. In case I'm not happy with the resolution, let's say it's not as per my liking, so I can go on the no feature, and this provides you with further options of either raising the ticket right from here, or chatting with the live analyst, or requesting a callback, which, as Pratik sir mentioned, we have our live engineers available at 24/7 delivery centers. From there, they would be able to provide all the instant support right from here. And once we integrate this with your ITSM, this would be able to raise tickets without the end user requiring to hop onto the ITSM tool. So I'll initiate the conversation. Let's say it would ask me to describe the issue. I'll say, hi, my laptop is slow. Yeah, so it says, please provide a brief description. I'll say, hey, my laptop is slow. It would register an incident, and it would directly give the conversation into the hands of the human at the backend, and then I would be able to converse with the person, and I would be able to resolve the issue. So yeah. So this is me telling them what the issue is, and now soon enough you'll be able to see that the human agent is also replying, and this is how easy it would be for any of your end users to avail support. So now they have started, and this conversation can further go. They also would be able to see the conversation that I've had with the chatbot, so they would be able to provide me with a pinpoint resolution based on the history that I'm looking for. And I mean, it's less than 10 minutes, and I have already shown you that we can install softwares and troubleshoot and also avail the remote support. And this is what we are bringing to the table, the instant resolution, which Pratik sir had mentioned. We also have the agent side of it, as well as the admin side, wherein the admin would also be able to do a lot of features. This is basically the admin console. I wouldn't be taking you through the entire thing because this is very extensive, but just on an overview, we can the end users would be able to, sorry, the admin would be able to manage the endpoints remotely. They would be able to deploy all the apps remotely on a mass deployment. They would also would be able to troubleshoot or send notifications. They also have a lot of reports available, wherein they can see the audit reports, software reports, and proactive remediation, which the end users would have done on their own site. So as I said, this is very extensive, and I love to understand your requirements, and we can work one-on-one. And I'll hand back the mic to Pratik sir. Sure. All right. So this basically covers the entire demonstration. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much for being a great audience. We are happy to, reach out to you guys, or you can reach out to us, run a free pilot in your organizations to really showcase the power of the platform. This is the future of how end user services is going to get delivered. Thank you very much. And you have a great conference. There is a great agenda lined up for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pratik Garg and Mr. Pranav Katiyar. We would like to, sir, if you could, we would like to present you with the Digital Transformation Leader Award presented by Dr. Ravi Gupta, and we would also like to call Mr. Nikhil Chaturvedi, EVP and Global Chief Digital Officer, JSW Limited. Sir, if you could please come up on stage. A big round of applause, please. Digital Transformation Leader Award being presented to Mr. Pratik Garg, Founder and Managing Director, Progressive Infotech Private Limited. Yeah. Also, the Speaker Token Award given to Mr. Pratik Katiyar, Inside Sales Executive, Progressive Infotech Private Limited. Can we please have a picture together, all of you? Thank you so much. We'll be now moving ahead to the fireside chat named Leaders' Perspectives Digital Transformation, a Journey, Not a Destination, by Mr. Nikhil Chaturvedi, EVP and Global Chief Digital Officer, JSW Limited, Mr. Ajish Kumar Chaduvilla, who is the Assistant Vice President and Vertical Head Customer Service, Bajaj Alliance General Insurance, and the moderator being Dr. Ravi Gupta, founder and CEO, Elets Technomedia. Can we please have all our dignitaries on the stage, please? Yes, sir.
Check, check, check. Check, check, check.
Hello, everyone. I am Ravi Gupta here again, CEO and founder of Elets Technomedia. And I'm also the editor-in-chief of e-governance, digital learning, e-health, banking and finance, and the CIO magazines. And here I have the honor and the privilege of having two leading experts of the industry here with me. We have with us Mr. Nikhil Chaturvedi, who is the Executive Vice President and Global Chief Digital Officer of JSW Limited. Welcome, Nikhil. Thanks for joining in.
Thank you.
And on my left, we have Mr. Ajish Kumar, who is the Assistant Vice President and Vertical Head, Customer Services, Bajaj Alliance General Insurance. Welcome, Ajish.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining in. And the topic of this fireside chat is Leaders' Perspectives, Digital Transformation, a Journey, Not a Destination. So, as I mentioned in this my speech in the morning in the welcome remarks, before COVID, we were all reading about things like artificial intelligence, metaverse, and several other stuff, which are blockchain, and all were like looking at things like things of the future. Suddenly, fast forward button was blessed by the God. And in 2 years, we all did those things which we would have imagined to do in perhaps a decade. So let me start with asking Nikhil that how do you see the digital transformation discussions and debates or the digital transformation agenda evolving before and after COVID? What is the difference?
First of all, thanks for inviting me here. Elets Media have in the past also organized very good events, and I have been participating on a regular basis. So it's always stimulating and enriching to listen to everyone. Now, to answer your question, much water has flown under the bridge. I feel that COVID has definitely accelerated, not just in terms of using Zoom and Microsoft Teams, etc., for interactions, but in a fundamental shift in the way senior management has been thinking about uh, various types of digitalization and automation initiatives. For example, 7 or 8 years back, whenever I took any technology proposal to my management and we spoke about, say, 5 crore investment, they would have said, what's the point? In India, all these digital concepts are for foreign countries. In India, we can have 100 labor working for 1 year, and you wouldn't need to make any of that kind of investment. Or I would rather make this into one more production line, and we can enhance our production and revenues. And fast forward 5 years, and now what we see is management themselves are saying, how can you make our operations unmanned? How can you reduce our dependence on workers? So there is a big shift in terms of mindset of the people. So that is the first thing. Secondly, the adoption of new technology and the mindset for adoption of new technology by senior management as well as blue collared workers has been significantly accelerated uh, by the adoption of mobile technologies. Mobiles and smartphones, I think, have created a lot of difference in terms of people becoming intuitive towards using new technology. And of course, senior management's push towards automation has increased.
Fantastic. I think instead of being a push, it is becoming the pull from the management. Like Ajay, hear
Correct,
from you,
absolutely.
Nikhil. Ajesh, what's your like answer to the question I asked?
First of all, thank you for having me here, and a warm good morning to all of you. Uh, from digital transformation is not a buzzword right now. Many organizations have picked up this as a key discussion point. Not just here across the globe. Designing great customer experience is becoming easier with rise in digitalization in entire ecosystem. Okay, so for me, future, with digitalization, future of CX programs will be, kind of holistic. It will be precise and more predictive. Okay. Another thing which I want to add is we are seeing a lot of customers as millennials and Gen Z, joining us. Their requirement and demands are totally different. They want to be more empowered. Okay, so what we need to do is, give them self-service, DIY, and empower them and make them independent. Okay. Another thing which we just mentioned about metaverse. Metaverse is being talked about. We are listening about it. It is yet to take a big leap, and maybe too early to comment on it. But yeah, if you couple it up with something like a 3D imaging, so you will actually turn up giving a real life humanized experience in this digital world. If you ask me, there's a huge growth in digitalization. We've just seen the, in pandemic we just got a push, but yeah, obviously you'll see a huge growth in the coming years. And for me, future looks digital and virtual.
Highlighted about the push and the growth. But there are still skeptics around and who are saying that the metaverse is far away, blockchain is far away. We need much more real things, at least in India. Um, Common man needs real services and not the virtual services, stuff like that. So we keep on hearing this debate on LinkedIn and several other places. So, and many of like things are considered hype still, that like the meta versus like far away, अभी इसकी जरूरत नहीं है हमें, we have to solve some of the real issues. Like, so how do you handle like these debates in your organization?
So first thing I say is, some of you may have noticed in when you buy a car, on the rear view mirror, there is something written as objects are far closer than what they seem to be. Okay. So we always feel that the change will be slower, it would take time, but a lot of times it happens much faster. Okay. Fortunately, in our case, in JSW, the senior management itself is very progressive in thinking. So I am lucky that I didn't have to fight that battle of changing top management's mindset for investment into technology. But nevertheless, we still need to develop business cases and get the investments justified, etc. And later on, during our interaction discussion, I will explain what is our principle for prioritizing and convincing the senior and middle management for adopting any particular technology or any particular change.
So, taking this forward, is the customer ready for such a fast forward change of digital transformation, or is the customer saying, आप थम जाओ, थोड़ा सा रुक जाओ, आराम से करो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, हमें फिजिकल से वर्चुअल आने में थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा. So, are you like seeing that, or like मतलब is the industry moving too fast compared to the customers' needs and demands?
If you ask me, customers are ready for it. Okay, customers are ready because I'll give you an example of Bajaj Allianz General Insurance for our crop business, agri business. So farmers, we think that they are not very app centric, or they don't want to go digital. But we have a app called as Farm Mitra. We have more than 5 lakh active farmers using the app. Okay, and they do the entire journey, claim registration, inquiries, and stuff like that from the app itself.
5 lakh of them?
5 lakh.
Wow.
Okay, and still counting. So, but there are certain, if I have to voice out the problems which we are facing, one is the adoption and optimization of the digital asset. That is one big challenge which we are facing as of now. While we have launched the digital asset, but the usage is not as desired. Okay, that is one thing. Second, we need to focus more on the use case rather than the technology. Use case which will enhance customer experience, and use cases which will certainly we need to keep it simple, rather complicating things. Third one, if I have to tell you, we need to have maybe one use case and different technology, and not the other way around. Reason being, if you have one technology and different use cases, the option left to customers are less, and the usage by then reduces.
Amazing. So you are saying that digital assets are ready, but like the usage is like
The
optimization is still going on. But like if you talk about your customers in like JSW, like most of it are like B2B customers, like as far as I understand, and their like approach to adopting a digital technology is much faster rather than a general consumer like a farmer, like as I mentioned. So if you have to divide your target audience in terms of digital adoption, so how do you like identify it, how do you prioritize it, and what like how do you decide that okay, I will go with technology X or technology Y, or I will go with app X or app Y? So how do you do that?
Okay, that's a very good question. And I would like to share my thoughts about this myth of generalizing a particular type of solution, or concepts like are the customers ready or not ready. First of all, some of you may have heard about this phrase, which is called lot size of one. So you can have a lot size of 100,000, millions, etc. Lot size of one means as much as possible, try to see every customer individually and serve them according to their requirements, which is also called as personalization of customer service. Second myth is that we have only B2B customers because of steel company, traditional steel company, but the landscape has changed significantly. First of all, we have diversified into cement and paints kind of businesses, which are anyway very much B2C in nature. Steel is also becoming more and more B2B2C and B2C as well. Because for say long products like TMT bars, etc., there are home builders, individual home builders who are in B2C segment who are buying directly from us. So for us, we have to make a model which will take care of omni-channel commerce, right? Which will be able to cater to technologically advanced customers and also technologically laggard customers. So we need to design our strategy in that way. Otherwise, we cannot cater to all segments of our customers, which will make our revenues not grow to the targets that we are setting up. Now, to answer your question, application A or B, so the backbone is standardized. For example, you have SAP ERP, which takes care of sales and distribution processes, and Salesforce.com CRM, which takes care of all customer database and leads, opportunities, Salesforce automation, etc. So this is the backbone. Now we have, on top of that, we have developed some applications which are individualized. For example, we have an application called Sathi. Sathi is something like you were saying, a Mitra application. This Sathi app is for those who are buying cement. Okay, so there are a lot of dealers who are and retailers who are buying cement from us. They can do all their transactions individually and very efficiently on that Sathi app. So to summarize, there is this backbone of SAP ERP plus Salesforce CRM. On top of that, there are individualized apps based on the customer segment and the type of product that we are selling.
Fantastic. Nikhil, and let me ask Rajesh, uh, what is the economic impact of digital transformation in an organization? So have you, like as an organization, tried to quantify that if this digital investment was not done, this is the X rupee loss would have happened, or this is the X rupee opportunities uh, uh, which as an organization you wouldn't have been able to tap.
Uh, to an extent, yes. Let me just go back 3 years. 2020, it was more on the survival of BAU because the pandemic just hit and everyone wanted to be just be available for customer. 2021, it was more of introducing the digital assets. So many companies introduced different digital assets for the company for the customers. 2022, it is more on optimizing and then giving a seamless experience with speed and accuracy. So just to answer, to quantify, digitalization has helped. We are seeing a huge trend in CX where organization is adopting different propensity model. Propensity to buy, propensity to escalate, service to sales model. Okay, and with this, obviously the kind of ROI which you are getting is, first it was more of one size fitting all approach. So if I have to sell, you pick up a database, you just randomly call the customer and pitch your product. Now with the digitalization, data and analytics, what you can have the real segment. Okay, this class of segment would prefer this kind of product and with this price range. Okay, so that has helped us. So obviously the the kind of conversion rate has improved. So if I have to put a number, I don't have a number handy with me, but yes, there is an improvement which we are seeing, from sales. Okay, every service team is now taking up sales target through service to sales model. So the backbone behind that is your data and analytics piece. You get the right set of customer, you get the right product which is tailor made, okay, to this segment, this segment of customers, and the conversion rate obviously has increased. So if you ask me, I don't have a number handy with me, but yes, obviously it has improved drastically as compared to what we were 2 or 3 years back. And obviously with your, with the current trend, and by leveraging the current data, you can only see that increasing moving forward.
Fantastic. And last question, that there are many skeptics who say that when you like digitize everything, you lose the human touch, human contact. Like if someone is like selling a product, X person to person sales is happening, and that is now happening digital. That human contact, human touch is lost. Emotions are lost. That personal relations are lost. So it's digitalization making us less human and more like a robot. How do you like answer questions of skepticism like that?
Okay, before I answer this question, may I add to your previous question that was asked to Ajish? There are two things which I would like to mention there. First of all, you also corroborated the same thing. One size fits all will not fit anyone, right? So we are also working on that personalization strategy. Most of our partners, customers are also working on a similar strategy, personalization according to the customer. If we avoid that, we will lose market share. Secondly, in terms of benefits, if we have to put a figure around that, during the last 4 to 5 years, the value that our digital transformation initiatives have generated in JSW, just only in the steel business, are to the tune of around 1,500 crores.
Wow,
Right, so that's
wow.
the benefit that have been generated.
Let's have an applause for Nikhil
Right.
here. 1,500 crores is a great number to have.
So if you say if we had not done anything, then that would have been an opportunity loss. So that's roughly the kind of benefit.
And
And
just to stop you here, then what is the size of investments which have happened in terms of IT in last 5 years? If you have a rough number.
that's confidential.
Acha, that's
I can.
confidential. That's fine. It's okay. Okay, don't worry. No worries.
Okay. So now,
Yeah.
your question, please. Can
Sure.
you
So
please
the question was that we used to have a conference like this before COVID, and in COVID everything went on virtual, and there are still many organizations who are still working on work from home mode. There are many organizations who are still organizing conferences on virtual mode. Employee interactions are happening virtually a lot. Many employees are spread all over the country. Many of the businesses are spread, your business associates are spread all over the country. I was like talking to someone, he was saying that I have a team all across 20 states. I used to, before COVID, I used to go to each state every month. Now I am like, I have reduced my travel. I am doing these meetings virtually. I'm happier now. So, but I'm asking on the flip side, that is that personalization, is that human touch reducing because of this? And if we get into this, like increase this whole thing more, will we reduce our interaction with our employees, with our customers, and will it have an impact? So let me ask Ajesh first on this.
So what I feel is, getting engaged with either employees or customer is more important. It can be virtual, it can be physical, in person. Yeah, in person gives you more, it gives you more connect towards the other person. But the idea is to stay connected. For example, I just told you about the power of data and analytics. uh, I also come from a life background. Earlier, if I used to give you an example, if a premium was due, you used to call up every customer. Okay. Now with the propensity to pay kind of a model, you don't have to call all the customer. You've seen a customer who's been very loyal and paying you every year. Why to bother them with a lot of messages, calls, and stuff like that. He's quite loyal to you. He's loyal to your brand. So let's not bother them and rather disturb the loyalty. So you rather call those customers who are not paying you on time and stuff like that. So if you ask me, yes, there is a less connect when it comes to virtual connect, but the idea is to stay engaged. If you are engaged with your customer and employees, be it virtual and maybe a mix of, like you said, your friend has stopped the you know or rather reduce the visit, but he has not stopped it. That connect, in-person connect is always required when it comes to employees or distributor or even customers. But that engagement is to be there. The frequency, you need to work out on a frequency which is kind of agree to both of them. uh, when it comes to customer, obviously you should not be bothering them with too many messages, calls and stuff like that, but you need to understand the right platform and the right time to engage with them. It can be in person, it can be virtual, or if I take my own kids example, schools have started and they are enjoying. Earlier they were enjoying the virtual bit because they didn't had to get up early and go to school. But now but after for 2 years they're doing that, and they were actually missing the real fun, which they are enjoying. So now if they don't get bothered by getting up early and going to school, so they enjoy that. So the mix of both is,
Yeah.
both is required.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, as we say, human beings are never satisfied. So in either situation, we would have some complaints. Uh, so earlier, I remember many colleagues used to say, so tired of going to the office every day, and Mumbai commute of 1.5 or 2 hours each way, it's killing us. And then once we were under lockdown, so everybody was saying, I'm missing office coffee and coffee corner discussions, etc. So, but I think, as you said, a hybrid version is the optimum version. There are flip sides of working from home completely. Especially, we don't realize, for us, we have worked in the office for several years, so we can still maintain our work by connecting with employees virtually. Think about, every year you are hiring new GETs and MTs, etc. What will happen to the new workforce? How will they know how an office system works? Who does what? What are the dynamics between people? It's very important. So I remember when I used to work for SAP earlier, there was a survey done for all the employees, and what emerged, the outcome was that 2 to 3 days in a week is optimum. You can save on travel time, etc. But at the same time, you get the human touch when you're working with the employees. So that's one part about virtuality. Now, your previous question was, have the digital technologies helped in improving the human touch and what happens to the employees? I think to a great extent, whether it is customers or employees, this engagement gets added when you have these virtual applications available. You have one more channel. Take it as one more channel, not a substitute to face interactions. Uh, Intermittently, we will require face-to-face interactions, whether with employees or with customers. It is indispensable. Otherwise, the business would decline and loyalty will decrease, as you're saying. This face-to-face interaction keeps the loyalty up. It is like a prop in a long string. I remember once I went to Petronas, which is the national oil company of Malaysia, just like we have ONGC and Indian Oil here. And I was speaking to a friend of mine who is a petroleum engineer. And I asked him, how is your digital transformation program going? So he said, I mean, lots of work is going on. It's all over in the media. We are investing millions of ringgits in digitalization. Senior management is giving interviews on that. मेरी life पे तो कोई असर नहीं पड़ा, right? And that's when I started thinking, it's not only your operational efficiency and top line increasing, etc. Unless it touches an employee's life, for that matter, a customer's life, they will really not value it. So that's why in our list of strategic initiatives, we have Great Place to Work as one of the key initiatives on which we are working with the HR function on how can we enhance their productivity or convenience of doing their transactions through mobile devices with this mobile first strategy. How can we make their daily commute easier? For example, we have in our factory kind of setup, you have office buses that are plying from Panvel to Dolvi, right? Or in Karnataka, for example. So how can we make it easier for them? Can we provide the bus information on a mobile phone so that they know what time is the bus reaching? Have facial recognition so that we have security, but at the same time they can quickly get into the bus. Only the authorized people can go. So such kinds of things we are working on. So to summarize, it is a benefit. Take digital technologies as another channel to serve the employees and customers much better. and adopt a hybrid strategy as much as possible. In our plants, for example, we are running power plants, steel plants. You can't do virtually, right? So you have to be in the plant. But wherever possible in the offices, etc., a hybrid model will be the best one.
Fantastic, Nikhil and Ajesh. Amazing interaction with both of you. You are doing some amazing work in the digital transformation, and we heard from both of them then how they are impacting the lives of their customers, the employees, and the other stakeholders in the ecosystem. So, thank you, and great interacting with you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, thank you so much for this fireside chat. And we would like to present Mr. Nikhil Chaturvedi and Mr. Ajesh Kumar a token of gratitude, please. A big round of applause, please, for both our esteemed speakers today. Mr. Nikhil Chaturvedi, EVP and Global Chief Digital Officer, JSW Limited. Mr. Ajesh Kumar Chauruvilla, Assistant Vice President and Vertical Head, Customer Service, Bajaj Alliance General Insurance. Please give a magazine. Thank you so much. As we are running a little bit short of time, we will not go for the networking break right now. We will straight away go towards the first panel discussion today. The panel discussion is RX Digital Transformation, the Prescription for Pharmaceutical and Healthcare Industry. And I would like to request our esteemed panelists today for this panel discussion to please be on stage. Mr. Ganesh Ramachandran, Global Chief Information Officer, Alchem Laboratories Limited. Mr. Dhaval Pandya, who is the Corporate Chief Information Officer, Piramal Enterprises Limited. Mr. Sunil Kumar, Senior Director and Global Head, Digital Transformation, Operations Excellence and Culture Transformation, Cipla Limited. Mr. Manish Kishore, who is the Global Head IT, Wokhard Limited. Mr. Narendra K. Sani, Chief Digital Officer and Data Chief Officer, Lupin Limited. And our moderator for this session, Mr. Abhijit Basak, who is the Partner Leader Strategy and Transactions, Pharmaceuticals and Healthcare, EY Parthenian. Mr. Ganesh Ramachandran, please. Mr. Ganesh Ramachandran, Mr. Dhaval Pandya, Mr. Sunil Kumar, Mr. Narendra K. Sani, Mr. Manish Kishore, and our moderator, Mr. Abhijit Basak.
Check.
Should we? So it's funny that the first panel is on digital and digital in pharma and healthcare. And if you go online and search for industries and their maturity in digital, probably we are among the last. Oops, sorry. And of course, we very conveniently blame regulatory and a lot of other factors. But if you just look back the last 2 or 3 years, I think the pandemic galvanized the industry in a lot of ways. And very often we get asked, how do you separate out something like a life sciences, wherever you see the word sciences, and then wherever you see the word care? And typically, at least in the consulting world, the way we do it is anything to do with products is more the sciences side, and anything to do with services is more the healthcare side. So the topic actually talks of both pharma and healthcare. Of course, I think we have a little bit of a pharma bias, but wherever possible, we'll try to bring in that interplay of pharma, the services side, and of course, the government side. So let's actually start with, as I say, a very global question. Pandemic aside, what are the kind of trends that you've seen in the last 2-3 years, which may provide another leg of acceleration to digital in pharma, in healthcare, besides whatever was literally survival mode during the pandemic? Ganesh, you want to maybe start?
Hi, can you hear me? Yeah. Thanks for the question, Abhijit, and thanks, Elets, for having us here. Oh, absolutely. I think the last 2 years have been quite something, haven't they? So I think the biggest thing that has changed, and leaving aside the pandemic, I think people have realized there's a lot more you can do with digital, which for some reason, like you rightly said, pharma was always at the back end of the digital adoption curve. They felt that it's not something that was there. If it ain't broken, why fix it? So I think what has changed dramatically from a trends perspective, to me, there are 3 broad trends that really come in. And I'll try and do some justice to the healthcare side, given that we are a completely pharma panel sitting out here. The first is just the explosion of analytics. Pharma has always had a large amount of data. And in some cases, while we were using the data, particularly if you looked at the operations areas, some parts in R&D, clinical trials, I think the front office was one where we really didn't use data as effectively as we could. Even things like pharmacovigilance, where you were looking at adverse drug reactions, saying what happens out of those, how can I make sure those get taken care of? I think a lot of that you're seeing huge use cases and analytics that is coming to the fore. And that I think has driven a lot of things that are coming through. Also coupled with that, the fact that people have realized that I can't do everything manually and I need to have some decision support has led again to analytics coming to the fore. So I wouldn't say completely we moved to AI ML yet. We're starting to scratch the surface there. But even getting more comfortable with analytics, people asking for more, of businesses kind of forcing the IT and digital teams to move towards that. So that's trend number 1 to me. Trend number 2 has been the entire thing of cybersec, and there's no surprises over there. I think healthcare, as far as some of the stats that I was reading, is the second largest industry that was affected after financial services on cyber threats that were kind of coming through. And hence, most organizations have realized that there is a crying need to really up the ante on the cybersec posture. Coupled with the fact that you extended your network to not just within your organization, but partners all around, whether it was contract research manufacturers, whether it was suppliers, whether it was customers, stockists, you suddenly had a threat surface that had expanded dramatically, and hence the need to, again, improve your cybersecurity posture. So that's the second one, which I think has really gained a lot of currency over the last couple of years. The third one has just been the use of a lot of wearables and devices that have started coming to the fore from a care perspective. So I think before the pandemic, none of us, at least I didn't know what an oximeter was. Most of us have one at home. We continually keep checking. The moment you feel like you slightly got a cold, you quickly check your oximeter. And most of it is now started by you're checking vitals, whether it is BP, sugar, all of those, you now do it at home. You don't necessarily go across to a place to check it. And with a lot of the connected devices as well coming through to the fore, I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of that coming in from a patient care ecosystem. So to my mind, that's the third trend that we are seeing, where you're having a lot of connected devices coming in
and saying, how can I improve the quality of patient care, which both pharma and the healthcare system is trying to see how they could really work at. So that's the three trends that I will leave you with.
Ganesh, thanks so much. But I think you spoke a lot about the way the industry is looking at it. Now let's look at the other side, which is the patient side. Manish, you want to maybe add something on the interface of digital with patient along the journey? Could be chronic, could be specialty.
So I'll just add on to what Ganesh has added to it. I think farmers are now more patient centric. They are looking at different programs, how to reach out. So how to converge. I think it is convergence of healthcare and pharma which has started coming in, and the more personalized medication moving towards it. While pharma's industries are in, I think COVID has geared up all the pharma to at least go 20 years back when the automobiles and others people were gearing up for the digital transformation. And yes, analytics is one of the major pieces which has started from all the supply chain, manufacturing, and all those angles to it. But the data explosion which has happened in terms of collection of data at the government end also, and analyzing it, what is happening across, how to give better medication to it. I think NHA has come up greatly on it to create a platform for health ID where the whole data can coincide with it. And to add on to it, the data protection layer has come onto it. So I think healthcare is coming up fast in India, and pharma is catching up with all those angles, how to make sure that we have the best medicine, because at the same time, the competition is also increasing. And when competition increases, that means you have to bring in cost efficiencies, the better quality aspects of it. And on top of it, the regulatory and compliance are there to pull your legs always.
So Manish, you introduced a very interesting concept, which was basically what we know as Abha.
Yeah.
It's probably on our CoWIN, and most of us have not really headed into that part of CoWIN.
True.
So we do have, I believe, a question coming up later on the government side.
Sure.
So we'll pick up the government side later.
Yeah.
But on the private side, we did talk about cybersecurity as well. And you did mention that after financial services, this is possibly the second most impacted area. Now, something that we've seen is you don't really own a patient in India.
Yeah.
In a closed loop system, or say in US, the way insurance would work, the patient gets tied to a certain provider or a certain payer. Now, in India, I may, just for as an example, say have a registration done at a nearby chain. It could be an Apollo, could be a Fortis, whoever. I may have paid 150 for that registration charge. And sometimes it's like the only binder to that. I mean, I may not want to go to another chain because I don't want to pay that 150 again.
True.
But without something like Abha, that interoperability, or the way we've fantastically done the mobile number portability, moving that patient from one system to another looks difficult, I think.
Yes. No, I think there is a lot of work being done on creating a data exchange after the health ID comes into picture, creating a repository for health HCPs and HIPs. That is very important. But at the same time, we'll have to see how we converge together, because all is optional. This is an optional subject which is given to everyone. So once the data exchange starts coming in, the interoperability will come into picture.
Fantastic. So, which then brings us to the second question. So here we were talking trends. Someone wrote the question as disruption. And I think for our industry, anything in trend is disruptive. But I'll ask maybe Sunil to chip in on what could be some disruptive areas where the industry is now beginning to reimagine the role of technology.
First of all,
the way I look at it, in pharma particularly, digitalization is not a disruption. I would call it as rather transformation.
Okay.
Um, Pharma is an industry which is sitting on a huge amount of complex data, which is, I mean, most of the data is not in the form to use. If I'll start with the, uh, we need to have first a data and technology architecture to drive the value from data and analytics first for real-time responsiveness. Because if you do that, typically it starts with our vision. So let's say if I wanted to have a touchless aspiration, touchless factories, for example, then it can only be possible if I think towards how I can reduce the extent of touch, the manual reductions, or would like to increase capacity or auto detects, right? There is a technology available, right? And technology is an enabler, right? It is good for nothing if you can't derive analytics out of it. So in pharma, you take, there is a rotary shifter, there is a case packer, there is a roll compactor, MES, check master. There is a lot of technology available, which most of the companies, they started, using that technology. But the way I see it, more than the technology, because you can counter all the challenges with respect to technology, because you have the experts available. There is a vendor sports available, right? But the real disruption comes whether you are able to make the use when it comes to the end user. Let's talk about operators who use the machine. Unless and until it touches and change in the life, in the daily life of the operator, it's for him it's like a buzzword, right? Oh, they're talking about some big things, but I don't understand. I don't care what they're talking about. So what is important to me as an operator is whether it is changing my life or not, whether it is making my life easy or not. Let me take an example. We did a one use case, and I asked the operator, forget about what we have done behind this. Tell me, what is the one good thing which you talk about this? He was talking about, look, earlier I used to wait, someone will tell me maybe after a month what is the OE of my machine. I don't need to wait that. I can see that live OE on my tablet right now. I mean, that changed the game, right? What and the performance, if it is in front of your operator, then it changed the entire game. So that's my bit on this.
Thank you. Naren, maybe, what is your pet disruption? Whatever you may have observed.
Okay, let me take an example of disruption in healthcare. How many of you heard about a brain surgery using 5G technology just 2 weeks back? Okay, looks like no one. So that's a disruption. You see, 10 years from now, would you want to be operated by a doctor who has done maybe 10, 20, 100 surgery, or by a machine or a robot, which probably has done maybe 10,000 or 20,000 surgeries? What do you want 10 years from now? What would you choose? This is what I think we can call disruption. The second thing that has happened, it somewhere lies between the business transformation and also disruption, I would believe, because the way the drug discovery to clinical trials to the supply chain management to the tech transfer manufacturing and selling that happened for the COVID, drugs, it was phenomenal. I don't think if at any point of time in the history of pharma industry could be this agile. It took just 1.5 years at max. We had not just one, but multiple drugs in the market. So how was this possible? How could we actually overlap when the drug was still being in R&D phase and then clinical trial have started, right? And there are so many more patients who are willing to come forward and then, be a part of the trial. So I think phenomenal transformation was shown, and that by the pharma industry. I think these are some of the pieces that we probably need to learn, right? Maybe Indian pharma, maybe a little bit laggards, but I would like to think that maybe a few years down the line, we would be at par or probably even better than what global pharmas are doing in this space. Yeah.
Thanks.
Dhaval, what's your take on a key disruption here?
Firstly, a very good morning, fast approaching afternoon. Thank you for having me on this panel and so very pertinent points made by all of them. But hello. 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 Okay. Talk about disruption, right? So, so the way I look at it is largely in two parts. And like you rightly mentioned, Abhijit, that there are two main brackets to it. One is the entire pharma, and the other is the healthcare. Within pharma, again, you would like to break it into pre-ops and ops. And when you talk about the digital transformation, I think there are different maturity of technologies impacting each of these areas. So let's take the first bracket at a time, which is the pharma part of it. And in pharma, you can look at pre-ops and ops. So like you rightly mentioned, you're looking at drug discovery and maybe clinical trials as the two main brackets there. And the way the digital is bringing in, for example, when you talk about the drug discovery, the entire predicting aspect to it, so that the number of iterations that you would do in the physical world get simulated, and you are able to then pinpoint as to which is something that you really want to take to the physical world, and at the same time, not lose the sanctity of the trial as well. So a lot of deep learning and data churning kind of exercises are happening there, and I think that played an important part in the entire COVID drug discovery as well. Because roughly, when you talk about a drug discovery, it is about a decade of a time and $1 billion of investment that it takes to get it to the light of day. But here we are talking about roughly about 18 to 20 months when it was being used on scale, at scale rather. So that's the first part, and then there is a lot of community based approach coming here, where different companies are joining forces to say that, okay, how can they leverage the learning aspect, so that you're not one is that the investments get optimized there, and the second is that the entire cycle from an ecosystem perspective comes down, and that's where the framework adoption is coming into picture. The second part, which is around the clinical trials, and there has always been this talk about ethical trials. So how can the cruelty angle come down to the best possible extent, and at the same time, how can the adverse effects be minimized the most? So there again, genealogy and predictive models are coming into picture, and recently the AlphaFold problem was also solved, and then now that's being made available as a service, so that the entire protein folding and how it behaves in light of a particular drug administration, that gets predicted. And then there is again a small consumer aspect to it, because when you're talking about clinical trials, you're talking about population identification, population screening, population onboarding, population administration, and population monitoring. So then there are different digital inputs, for example, something like smart bottles, to ensure that whether the administration is happening as per the dosages required or as prescribed or not. What is the kind of impact that is coming through, and maybe some kind of a digital intervention just to take a stock of, okay, are you feeling okay? Are you feeling itchiness somewhere, or do you see a runny nose, or do you see a temperature? So this kind of live data collections, and for example, then coupling them with smart meters like the temperature sensors and oximeters and things like this, so that it can be remote to the best extent possible, and then there is only timely intervention to make it physical, where the actual inspection would happen. So that's the entire pre-discovery part. In post-discovery part, I think the biggest area being hit is manufacturing and operations. And that's where I think a lot of investments being made into. One is IoTizing the entire operational framework that you are having, because a lot of these equipment tend to be dated. Not many technical enhancements happen to it, because they have to subscribe to certain protocols and be compliant to them. So a lot of IoTizing of these to be able to make them smarter, and at least get the data, like Sunil also mentioned, to say that, okay, where is my OE today? A lot of interventions. One other big aspect is the entire digital twin part, where you're trying to bring in the predictability and the smartness into the manufacturing, to say that, okay, can I predict with the current parameters from the physical world, build a model around it in the digital world, and see what kind of tweaks could I make to get a particular level of output, or hit a particular level of efficiency. So that's the entire pharma part. I think that's where the entire digital transformation is happening. And within pharma, when you talk about the non-core part or the support functions part, that's where a lot of process automation is hitting. So things like, say, intelligent IPAs or robotic process automations, even in shop floors, for example, smart inspections or visual inspections based technologies where, for example, is the pack compliant to the artwork or not, and then a lot of safety of the people on the shop floor. Again, a lot of visual inspection and computer vision being used there to see, for example, is someone trading into a non-tradable area, is he wearing a helmet or not, is he wearing the protective equipment or not, are for example, the logs being made or not. So that's the entire pharma part. I think I'll conclude my remark for here now, and maybe down the line we can look at healthcare separately.
Awesome. Okay, now we're going to take up a very, very abused terminology of recent years, which is AI. And sometimes you have ML attached to it. Now, on a lighter side, I was taking an interview of an engineered MBA. I think this was January of 2020. And his bio had something around AI. So I asked what he's done on that project. And I think after some time, he started getting a bit jittery and he said, "Sir, isme AI nahi tha, isme ML tha." I chose not to respond to that. Now, I think the challenge that we have here is what at one point in time, maybe 2005, when big data first came in, we used to simply call it regression. And possibly most of us have done regression in some form or the other in school. Then we had all this, the data tsunami come in, and the chips got more and more powerful. So it's like playing chess. You just go up the levels, level 1 to level 6. You can defeat the computer on level 1 because it's possibly trying out 5 moves. And at nth level, it's trying all the moves. So sorry to malign AI a bit, but and I'll keep this very open to all of you because I know it's a emerging area. So feel free to pick up the microphone and talk. But let's take it both ways. 1 or 2 fantastic examples of AI in Indian pharma. It could be a bot, it could be something on the back end, could be anything. And maybe even a myth buster on where it's possibly not AI but is being marketed that way. Open to anybody here. Please feel free to pick up the mic.
Yeah, so I think you're absolutely right that AI is fairly abused word, maybe after digital transformation. So of course, bots can be considered as part of it, but really speaking, if we have to talk about the deep learning and the AI part into the pharma, particularly Indian pharma, I think still the penetration is low. I would not say absolutely zero because I believe in bits and pieces, almost everybody has started looking into it and started working on that one. But yeah, not every advanced analytics or machine learning model can be actually called an AI. So I think that's fairly abusive over there. But I think it just started to experiment. Let me put it that way. I think RPA journey, some of the companies in Indian pharma, they've started around 3-4 years back. Almost everyone picked up as of today. So there was like early adopters and a little bit later, but then I think we are almost there. Everyone is doing that, right? Apart from that, not much of use AI. Deep learning is being used in some of drug discovery segments, but I think that is still fairly limited. I would not really say that much of it is coming in the market right now. Probably still in R&D, but not really coming out. Anyone would like to just add?
You're right about it being, anybody and everybody today seems to have a point of view on AI and ML. So while I cannot think of a very straight, but like I mentioned in the entire pre-ops part, there is real use of AI that is happening, especially through the deep learning models on the entire drug discovery aspect. I think one of the, if you look at from a health perspective, one that comes to my top of my mind is while it is not straight away pharma or healthcare, but you can say that it falls in it touches the realm of healthcare, is the entire health insurance aspect. where we are now talking about the entire underwriting being done through heuristic models and the entire, so that entire actuarial study that used to happen to be able to define as to what should be the premium that you peg to a particular subject at hands. A lot of learning from the past is being leveraged there to automate that process, because the actual population is very few. I think it's few hundreds in the country today. So how can that become more, if maybe commoditized is a wrong word, but how can that can be used at a scale where that same intelligence is being imparted? And the second part is, for example, where there used to be a compulsory health checkup that used to be required before you can get a health insurance. I think a lot of deductive and inferential models are being used from, say, the behavioral aspects of the subject, or certain data that is collected from them, to be able to identify as to what is the risk that is being carried, so that it brings convenience to the fore, and that's the wow factor. For example, if I come to know that I don't have to go to a health, do a health checkup to be able to get a health insurance, it somewhere eases the entire jitteriness that also comes in. So I think this is one other aspect that comes to the fore.
Right. We talked some time back, and I'm just linking one word there. You talked about that trust element in a way where you have the surgery by, say, a robot versus an experienced doctor. And one of the areas where we've seen AI sort of sitting on a lot of data is a few startups are working on EMRs, and hospitals are getting that pop-up mechanism where a prescription may be suggested, which in a way also becomes a marketing tool from a pharma perspective. Is this something anybody would touch upon?
So yeah, you're right. There are parts of it which are there, but so we launched a platform for doctors to engage their patients in June of 2020. Currently, it has over 35,000 doctors, has done over 100,000 consultations. But I think we've approached it very differently. And the idea being that it is the doctor's call on what is right for the patient. You can have some of the AI models coming there, but from what we've spoken with HCPs, they are not very comfortable with it. They believe that it kind of comes in, and their clinical decision support, in some cases, you may want to kind of give it as a suggestion, but it is one where the doctor chooses whether they want to kind of take it or not. While we did look at the feature, given that we felt doctors were not ready, we kind of held it back. Second, from the EHR, EMR, for sure, that is something that we've been seeing. While during the pandemic, it was all about teleconsult and more of those. Over the last year almost, we've been seeing most people now a lot more comfortable being in their clinic for the practice. So the platform has got extended to the offline practice as well, and hence the ability to use the EHR or the EMR has kind of come through. We've also extended a few hospitals where they pick up the same platform and go through with it. So to answer your question, for sure, I think it's there, but I believe the acceptance of where doctors want to see it, and also the need where you need to have the model coming through with a fair amount of accuracy, if you will, to kind of say this is what it's really looking at, given that you need to look at multiple conditions. Not very sure yet whether in the Indian context it's totally there yet. So that's where I would kind of leave it with that. I just want to make one other point to the earlier question that you asked, where you were talking of transformation, while of course on all the operation areas has been plenty. To my mind, I think one of the big areas where we've seen huge changes happening is in the front office. And there's been a lot of analytics being used, whether you want to call it deep learning, whether you want to call it AI. I think it's more deep learning than AI. I think all companies we've used parts of it, whether it is in terms of nudging the field teams on what exactly the doctor is looking for, getting a better profile of the doctor. All the more relevant now when you have 194-hour and you don't want to have things being given as gifts to doctors and so on. And also the part of where Alchem particularly, we got onto the secondary tracking, which we have published as part of our earning calls. Every quarter we have the secondaries getting called out, saying what is the pull from the market to. And that again was a classical problem, because each stockist had a different way of doing it. It's not as simple as what a CPG would kind of be able to take on. So I think over there as well, a fair amount of analytics that is used in the front office to be able to really kind of say, how can I improve the productivity of the field force? How can I make sure I have the right kind of ROI going for stockists? So thought I'll just add that. Thanks.
So yeah, Abhijit, on your question about AI, just to add further, I think for AI and deep learning models, the amount of data that is required is humongous. As of today, I think pharma companies do not really own, as you said earlier, right? We don't own patients. We don't own anything, any information about the patient, right? So I believe healthcare segment definitely is a good candidate. And as Dhaval also said that insurance companies, they started using deep learning models. But I believe startup space where EMRs, ECGs, like I heard a company from Bangalore had around 30 million ECGs done. So they are sitting on top of the data which can actually be used to leverage, deep learning models to be able to probably better predict, looking at the ECG, what could be the potential, issue. But until then, we have a big hurdle because as of now, doctor are there and we cannot really bypass doctors. So I think Kanish's point is also pretty valid. There is a problem from existing practice to the new practice. We have a roadblock, and how we'll come over, I think the time only will tell. Back to you.
Just on the because machine learning, which is also a subset of AI, and deep learning, which is a further subset of in the manufacturing context, still there are initial POCs which we are doing, which is helping us. So, for example, predictive analytics engine to identify which are the risky products, and then prescriptive analytics engine wherein you can put in, let's say if I talk about a product which has more than 150 variables, specifically in pharma, you put up all those variables and then you're doing the prescriptive analytics on that to throw you some of the optimal parameter settings. If I take an example, let's say in case of OE, which I was talking about, from the operator's perspective, let's say while the batch start, and on an average, a good amount of experience operator takes, let's say, 8 to 10 iteration to set the machine. Now, for him or her, it's important, okay, what the machine learning or algorithms can get to him. So we did one use case there, and believe me, after the use case, you can set the machine maximum of the time in the first go, if not second. That's it. That's the power of machine learning when you talk about that 150 variables, which is a big thing. So I think there is a lot of things which can be experimented, and we are experimenting in pharma industry as well, which can give a lot of benefits in the time to come.
Awesome. Let's now move from AI to another controversial topic, which is the regulation side. And quite often, of course, the data security is one angle. Then you have the patient data, which not only from a data perspective, there is a arm's length in that sense. Now, as we digitally integrate, do you see a need for even regulatory to rediscover itself? I'll give a very interesting example. I'm not sure if many of you here would be aware of a class of antihypertensives, blood pressure products called beta blockers. Now, fantastic category of products, really works well in bringing the pressure down, regulating heart failure, etc. Interesting part, there is a side effect on erectile dysfunction, which becomes a very taboo topic, at least say even in the Indian context. Now, it is only when a patient also opens up about such topics that a rule-based system gets to learn. We may have the best WhatsApp bot or a website bot out there, but if those are not being entered by a patient, the system also will not learn. So, sorry, that was a bit aside, but coming back to that whole regulatory and the flow of data, from the industry perspective, any wish list. For example, there was a lot of talk about the e-pharmacy regulations, the telemedicine regulations, then COVID happened, and going back to that word I used at the start, it became a matter of survival. And some things just were forced into place because it just had to happen. So as we move away from the pandemic, and I'm actually linking two parts here. One, the next question was actually about life after the pandemic. So the regulatory aspect and how we take a lot of this pandemic learning forward. What's the view of the panel?
So I think you rightly started the panel discussion when you said that any and every discussion around pharma, has to land somewhere on regulation. Correct. Uh, while there is some value in discussing that point, I think the world has changed. For a fact, the world has changed, and even the regulators have opened their eyes and ears. And let's be fair here. So the tele doctors or the remote medicine and delivery and stuff was existing even before the pandemic. It wasn't that it was non-existent, but maybe, for example, the adoption increased because so the consumer opened to that idea more than anybody else. So it wasn't the regulator that was stopping or impeding it too much. Now the second part which comes in is, for example, when you talk about the entire trust and traceability becomes extremely important. Then there are these co-vigilance aspects also that come in. But we have delved into the entire pharma ledger, right? Which is adoption of blockchain in this particular industry, and then there are industry players that have come together and they are working with regulators to see as to how it can be used in the most effective manner. Now, what needs to be put in perspective is that end of the day, you're talking about a product or a process that is impacting someone's health or life. So can we say that, can we make it a free for all? I think certainly then that cannot be the case. But definitely, I would say the adoption aspect of the companies to the digital technologies, of the entire customer base of these companies. So a lot of CDMO applications today are working in a collab mode, where they are free to share their supply chain details and their procurement details with the larger players because they are somewhere getting served by them. The regulator is not stopping that. So it's not that. But when it comes to health, I think it is, it will take its time to open up. It's like saying, rather than opening everything and then trying to shut down walls, let's open one at a time and see how the world reacts to it. Look at its impact in the long run as well. Look at the failure parts of it, more importantly. For example, we spoke about the entire data interchangeability earlier. The moment you talk about data, until the first aspect that comes to fore is security. Now, who's going to be responsible for that? Now, unless and until it's either regulated or it's made a part of a framework or it is made as a policy, there will be people will adopt it or interpret it in different ways. So definitely, I think the regulator has also opened his eyes and his or her eyes and ears to say that, okay, how can we make it a more seamless, well-oiled machinery? But let's take our time to adopt it.
Awesome. Manish, you want to add?
Yeah. So I plus what Dhaval has said. I think during the pandemic and after it has definitely opened the eyes. But at the same time, what I see is the involvement what our companies have with the regulator on a very, very collaborative mode that has to begin, because it is more of a audit mode which is always being on. So so there are a lot of consultations, a lot of drafts before any policy comes up. So what I think is there should be more involvement in terms of a collaborative mode towards a citizen or patient centric approach of it, and then it would be win-win for it. So probably like FDA or MHRA, they come with a lot of those consultations where we open up, we say, okay, these are the changes. There are discussions on those topics. I think in India that has to still open up for that. But yes, those are they are welcoming all the new options which is coming in, and especially like Dhaval said, telemedicine, teleradiology are the most being adopted across in US. But Sanjeevani, eSanjeevani is the most popular brand across the rural where telemedicine is being adopted. And because of availability of doctors, I think that has opened up. There's no regulation, but yeah. So, but the data collection, I think it is still area where the data fiduciary has to come in, and the data has to be anonymized and then made public for the use of the companies who can bring in products. I think that is what we are lacking right now.
And we have done remote audits. We cannot say that auditors or the regulatory has not changed. Actually, they also adopted technology, right? Yeah. So what Manish said, that collaborative approach is very important. I think that's the key that we have to look at. But regulators have to sit between the life of a patient and the profit of a company, and that's a very delicate job. So I can understand why they act the way they act, but I believe they are also open to technologies. At least pandemic has taught us that one, right? And I believe there is more collaborative things like NHS and East Engineer, as Manish also said, right? There's more things are coming up. We just have to probably go down that path and see what more can be done.
Fantastic. I think we're getting to the last area, which is about the government intervention on a digital side. But before I get there, if we look at 2 or 3 of the biggest business houses in India, largest conglomerates, without taking names, there is this intent to build an ecosystem. And some of it is in-house, some of it is acquisitions, some of it is partnerships. In some cases, it's incubators, and then you have graduation classes, and some of the best technologies get adopted. Then you have super apps and so on. But easily, the biggest ecosystem, and possibly in some years in the world, is what the government of India has set up. So you have Ayushman Bharat. Now we have the digital health, NHPM, NDHM. I'm mixing these two. Now, one part was Abha, and I'm sure the way initially when Aadhaar got introduced, there were many naysayers that, why should I share my data, my biometric, etc. If we had not had that, we would not have vaccinated ourselves at the speed we did. You'll see that happening to Abha going ahead, where it becomes a lot more integral to healthcare delivery in India, and in turn enables that digital acceleration. I know we are crystal balling here, something that's possibly a few years down the line, but great panel to take that up.
Yeah, I think the architecture is already been freezed across, and towards the complete digital mission, Akhil Bharat digital mission, which is going on. And health is the first one which has come with health data management policy for it. Nobody else has still freezed it. And the government is moving forward in terms of innovation.
Right.
So if you see, a lot of incubators have been formed through Niti Aayog, through DBT, to BIRAC, all those specifically in the healthcare space. That's how a lot of wearables have started coming out, the collection of data. I think that's GoQI and other startups who have come in. I think those are very popular among the other things. But that has also enabled the common man that, okay, how my readings are there, like we touched upon these points. But at the same time, I think now the interlinkages of hospitals and interoperability is the next step which will come in. So once it comes in, then it will be more easier to open up my own data. So let's say today in the digital locker, I can see all my linkages. Now the health ID is there. So the next step is, can I interlink when I visit any hospital or a clinic? Can I show my health card and say, okay, I don't need to be registered, I'm already registered?
Right.
I think that is the next point which the government is moving towards.
You actually brought the right word there on the interoperability. And there's actually a sandbox that has been created as well called the United Health Interface, UHI. Now, I was just going through some of the partners who are already on the UHI. Now, this came up on 15 January 2022, so it's still very early days. But we find DigiLocker, of course. We find some large hospital chains. We find aggregators, just as an example, a Practo. We find online pharmacies on the interface. We find digital wallets like Paytm. I think one side which is missing is actually us on the stage here. So do you see pharma over time getting into something like this kind of a sandbox, experimenting with technologies which are already coming forward?
I'll just answer a quick question here. Because I think we cannot collect data of patient. I think that's the primary deterrent for it.
Yeah, so I think, Manish, we also talked about it, that we don't own patients, and that's the reason. But I think what initiative that we have towards the doctor-patient engagement or digital engagement layer, and also something like ABHA coming up, right? I believe your question was that few years down the line, can we really have something like Aadhaar? I believe yes, and the driving will be the rural and I would say non-urban population. Aadhaar, the adoption increased after the direct payment to the bank account has started increasing, right? And that's where the widespread adoption happened. And I believe the healthcare is becoming costlier. So I believe non-urban population will be the first one to pick up, and it definitely has the potential to go to that level.
Yeah, so just to add, if you're talking about the possibility of whether it can, we can make it happen or not, and if references were anything to go by, look at the entire social security model. I don't think it's very different from what we are trying to endeavor here, where, somewhere health becomes a part of the entire way of life or day in life of anybody. He doesn't have to worry about, for example, going through expensive procedures or at the same time not worry about, say, post-recovery kind of aspects and stuff. So what would be important, like he rightly said, is and owning the data is not so simple, because a consumer doesn't come to a pharma company. You have to understand that there are a lot more players around it. There are influencers, maybe a wrong word. There is a complete value chain around it that leads to the pharma company. So it won't be just owning the consumers, because there will always be that middle layer that needs to be solved for before you can get to those aspects.
I wanted to add because, and from the perspective of manufacturing and data, you see the boundary between the virtual and physical is really blurred, and it's continued to blur thanks to internet and technology. The way I see is because everything is linked with data, right? And in this world of data, there are three things which is very important. One is you need that automatic ingestion of that data, because there are varied sources of the data. So you need to clean it, link it, so that it can be utilized, right, for analytics. Second is you need to create those machine learning algorithms, so that you analyze the data to give some insightful actions, right? And the third thing is for the user perspective, right? Whether you are creating the solutions or the web-based, app-based, mobile app-based, so that this insights-driven decision making can be happened. But what's the problem and the challenge is that the capability is something which is it's not that we are new to the game, but still we have to go a long way, even in the entire pharmaceutical industry and the manufacturing leaders, let's say. All these new tools and technology, the big data, the artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud computing, all these things need to be learned well. And it's okay to fail initially. The ability to fail fast is what we need to learn, so that we learn fast. And the most important is any and everything related to data. It's a change in the culture, the way we are doing things, right? And we need to tell ourselves that it's okay to fail. It's okay. We have to keep continuously trying and doing some error, but at the same time, this constant adaptation is key, because the landscape is changing, and we have to constantly adapting the way it is changing. Thank you.
Awesome. I think you pretty much summarized the R. So thanks a lot to all the panelists. You want to maybe just put in the last word? Awesome. So I think we have many other industries coming up. From at least the pharma industry, I think there's a lot that we can do going ahead. And yes, a lot of the enablers are in place. Our cousin industry, the healthcare side, the overall government umbrella, these are all platforms that we will see getting used a lot more. So Thanks a lot for the time, and panelists, thanks for all your views over the last 1 hour. And I'm sure over the rest of the day, we can all catch up and exchange notes. Thank you.
Esteemed panelists today for this wonderful panel discussion. I would like to request Dr. Ravi Gupta to please give away the mementos, please. Mr. Ganesh Ramachandran, Global Chief Information Officer, Alchem Laboratories Limited. Sir, please come on stage. Mr. Dhawal Pandya, Corporate Chief Information Officer, Piramal Enterprises Limited. Mr. Sunil Kumar, Senior Director and Global Head, Digital Transformation, Operations Excellence and Culture Transformation, Cipla Limited. Mr. Narendra K. Saini, Chief Digital Officer and Data Officer, Lupin Limited. Mr. Manish Kishore, Global Head, IT, Wokhard Limited. And our wonderful moderator today, Mr. Abhijit Vasak, Partner, Leader Strategy and Transactions, Pharmaceuticals and Healthcare, ePartner. So please pose once with the magazines as well. Thank you so much, all our esteemed dignitaries. As we move on to our next panel discussion, bulletproof security, securing your assets and cloud. I would like to welcome on stage our esteemed panelist for this session today, Mr. Padma Bhushan Bahadure, who is the Chief Technology Officer, IDBI Bank Limited. Mr. Ambarish Singh, Chief Information Security Officer, Godrej and Boyce. Mr. Pradipta Patro, Head of Cybersecurity and IT Platform, KEC International Limited, RPG Group. Mr. Kalpesh Toshi, Chief Information Security Officer, India and Southeast Asia, FIS Global. And our moderator for this session, Mr. Manoj Ajgaonkar, Director Cyber Services, Grant Thornton Bharat LPP. Welcome all our esteemed panelists today, and please welcome them with a big round of applause. And I hand over the dais to you, Mr. Manoj, for the panel discussion, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Deepak ji, can you please check over the mic?
Yeah. All right. Okay, is this okay? Yeah. All right. So, firstly, thank you everybody for joining us here. And like the topic says, bulletproof security, right? And in today's day and age, if you really look at it, security, resilience, cloud has, I mean, you can't really, stay away from it. And this is only kind of become more prevalent in the last 3 years. With the whole COVID happening, everybody moving to the remote work or the virtual environment and so on and so forth. And if you really look at it, and the topic talks about three things. It talks about assets, it talks about workforce, and it talks about cloud. Three things that an organization today really cannot do without. So what I want to really start with, I want to start with the topic of cloud. And why I want to start with cloud is because if you look at 10 years back, everybody spoke of cloud, but adoption was slow and steady. But in the last 3 years, the transformation has really skyrocketed. Now, you'll probably only find a couple of organizations who have not thought of cloud or are not thinking of cloud. So to start with, Amrish, if you can basically just touch upon what are those key considerations when you're thinking about a cloud strategy? As an organization, what are those top priorities that you have in place before really moving into that cloud transformation strategy?
Thanks, and first of all, good afternoon to everyone. So strategically, if you talk about decision to move to cloud, we need to understand whether it is a business decision, technology decision, or a security decision, because this is going to drive the entire migration strategy around it. If it is a business decision, it means business have realized the value of the cloud. They have seen the success of the newest companies. You talk about e-commerce, talk about cloud kitchen, and numerous fintech. They have reached their greater heights because they have lived the cloud, advantage of the cloud they have seen. If the migration, etc., advantage is going to be same, but how it is going to happen in your organization depends upon the strategy and what is the rationale for moving to the cloud. Second one is, if it is a technology decision, it means the CTO, CIO is pushing for it. So we need to move to a cloud. He is giving advantages. He's throwing a lot of ROI pictures, what we are doing on-prem, what we can do on cloud, what are the security advantage, etc. And what is the ROI we are going to get in 2 to 3 years frame of time. Third one is a security driver. If we as a CISO, we want to drive certain things, you want to move your native, many years old apps to the cloud, then it is going to be separate, different problems to solve altogether. Because our problem to move to the cloud, the faster or slower, depend upon all these three. If it is the business is the driver, naturally technology is going to support it, security you're going to ensure that as a CISO, security is taken care. But your journey is going to be smoother. If it is the technology is going to drive or security is going to drive, the initially journey is going to be little tough. Okay, because you need to get the benefit of what kind of cloud, what cloud can bring to the table. Second piece is, if you're at all you're decided, you need to think about what is your migration strategy. It is the public, private, or multi-cloud. What your deployment strategy could be. What is your governance and security strategy. You need to envisage how we're going to look in the cloud, how you're going to manage things, what you're doing today on the cloud. It means you have to start looking at the future, how to going to happen. Otherwise, from security standpoint, as a CISO, we need to think, we will struggle because something happens on cloud, we will struggle. So these are my initial thoughts.
So from what I understand, you're saying that it's no longer a tactical decision. It's more of a strategic decision. And if you don't have that strategic decision taken well in advance, then you're basically losing your advantage in this competitive environment. Now, and I think you also spoke about security as one of the tenets of cloud transformation strategy. So Padma Bhushan, if I may ask you, and again from the financial services sector, security becomes a very key aspect of your cloud transformation journey. Now, from a regulatory standpoint, from who owns security standpoint, how is the financial services sector looking at cloud?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the question. See, I'll just start from what Amrish had told. See, regarding cloud, the point is it is not why. The question is now when and how. Okay, that is the pertinent question to be asked or answered now. Uh, See, in terms of security uh, and adoption of cloud, see, the cloud has been adopted across industry sectors. And so media, entertainment, retail, even the pharma people are adopting the cloud. Banks and say, I would just restrict to the banks because under BFSI we also have insurers who are using cloud. But the banking sector, which is much regulated, okay, has a pretty conservative view towards the cloud. Having said that, see the COVID and the pandemic and the need for say banking to be available 24/7, and even the regulator pushing for certain services to be available 24/7, like the NEFTs, RTGS, UPI is making a big leap. All this has say demanded for say IT infra of a say huge scale, which on premise for say banks of say mid to large size become very difficult to manage, maintain, and operate. So that becomes a use case to use something like on the cloud. Now, coming back to the question of security, if we leave aside the say data privacy, data localization, okay, and owning the data, all those aspects aside, if you purely talk about IT security, the trick is within the IT security wing of the say a bank, we have a handful number of people, okay, supplemented by say the big fours or the security say experts, okay, but still we are limited by the number of say collective intelligence, which actually if we compare to a cloud security model, okay, there we can learn from various different avenues and a bigger say or huge enormous collective intelligence coming into play. I think so few of them we already had in terms of say certain and other say threat intelligence, but now if we compare the on-premise security to a cloud security, you would get a much more secure platform on the cloud. So it depends on what flavor of cloud you use, whether it is a SaaS, PaaS, or a, say infra as a service. But then comparing the security on the on-premise as well as cloud has a better security. That's what I would feel. But having said that, banking is a conservative sector, and still there are banks who are moving onto cloud, including IDBI Bank, and those are say small steps being taken, and depending on the kind of workloads we have, the bank or the CTO or the say the head of IT or CISO jointly can take a decision on when to go to cloud rather than saying why say to go to cloud. Thank you.
So I think brilliantly put. One, from what I could understand, is that you can't really not have cloud today. Two, when you're talking about security and when you compare security of a on-prem as compared to cloud, you can actually leverage the strength or the numbers in which the cloud service provider actually brings the security capabilities. I think very well put. Pradeepta, if I move to you, what I want to understand really is that, if you look back, security and resilience were actually spoken in two different breaths. Yeah. People thought that if we only detect and protect, we are absolutely safe. Yeah. But what we started realizing is that it is not only the security, but it is also resilience. And why I bring this topic up is if you see, every day there is a ransomware attack. Every day there is an outage. In fact, if you read the news yesterday, I think a global platform's messaging service was down for, I think, more than 3-4 hours, right? And in today's day and age, this is not acceptable. So resilience also becomes a very important element of the entire value chain. So if I may ask you your experience over the years, how has resilience and security become one single thought process as compared to being thought separately?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Manoj, this critical or crucial, or you can say it is a high important point today. If you look into the cyber security today, or might be pre-pandemic area, and after post-pandemic area, or during pandemic era, is completely, this has been, the dynamics has been changed from, like, the earlier those days we talk about information security, right? And today we are talking about the cyber security and resilience part of it. So those areas, like today, if you see that information security having the broader aspect of your digital security, we have your physical and as well as biological part of it. If you today talking about the cyber security, which is more of the digital, because we are getting into more digitized today. If you look into the comparing to your pre-pandemic era, then what are the three things or three dynamics or three areas it has been moved on? Is the first is of a cloudification. Already, I think Amresh and our team has already highlighted those points. The cloud adoption has accelerated because of the digital transformation has been put into place. That is one. Second is that the business driver, because today the way we operate earlier, the pre-pandemic era, today we are talking about everything should be happen through your digital assets, and digital way or digital channel has been open and accelerated heavily. If you talk about today, nobody knows about the GPay, and the Paytm has been not been adopted. So that we can see today what number has gone in the million. We cannot, it is a multifold, it has been adopted by our user or consumer. Even though today in the globe, if you see that the digitization has been, like, adopted faster in India compared to other countries. So that is where the cloudification, digitization, transformation has happened faster way. And the second point is work from home. Because due to this pandemic, definitely we have to work, whatever the other project deliverables, or might be the productions, or might be pharma you talk about our earlier panel. So it is, everything is moved towards that the remotely, or might be like work from home or work from anywhere. That concept has been earlier was there, but still it has been accelerated in this time. And the third point is, of course, we have a lot of initiative has been taken by our government of India. So on that perspective, a lot of things has been moved towards the digitization. We have touched upon, like, earlier panel is Aadhaar and other part of it, like in Avi. All those things is happening very fast. UPI, a lot of things is happening very fast. On that case, if I'm talking about more about the cyber security and cyber resilience part of it, of course, the cyber resilience is the key component of our complete strategy. It is not like only it is the cyber security or protecting ourselves. The way Manoj has highlighted, protecting, detecting doesn't make any sense for us today's era, where we have to see that we have to identify first what is the thing we want to protect or detect. Protect first, that is important, is data classifications. Okay, then we can go to this to be protected. Then once you protect it, then it is come to the detect mode. That is where the technology play very role. Protect and detect part of it, technology play very crucial role. After that, we have to have restore and recover. This is the two is more, like, add on to it. So where the resiliency come to picture. Without this, if something is going to happen today, the way we said that digital transformation happening, the way people, consumers or customers are adopting technology faster, the mobile technology has gone multifold, and the cyber security also, that threat landscape or threat areas is going beyond your on-prem. So on that perspective, if you see, the cyber resilience is the key. Then how to do that? How is that resilience you want to build up? That is that, like, your restorations and recover is key part of it now. If you're talking about restoration recover, how to do that? That is where we have to play that incident response team or incident response. There is a organization we have to create a strategically, like, to have your incident response team, then incident management team, then crisis management team. There is the three hierarchy we can think about. On that perspective, you have your crisis management and your incident management. They will take care about your stakeholder. If something is happened, because every day the ransomware or breaches are happening across. It is nothing like, on the specific industry. If you look into the globe, it has been gone like 630% of your ransomware or attacks or some of the data breach. In India, if you talk about 60 to 70% of organization, whether they have data breached, or they have attacked by ransomware or some of the malwares. I think you are all are agree on this, right? In India, I'm talking about, I'm not talking about global context of it. Of course, this is where like, we play the resilience role. We have to have our proper strategy for your backup. It's a simple, it is a basic hygiene you have to maintain. That is nothing, we are talking about something technology. It is a people and as well as like, technology and process. And you have to verify always when you are taking the backup, you should know that whatever you are taking backup is a business critical. And also you have to do the restoration testing every frequently. So that is where it will give you like, extra advantage. Yes, we are confident, like if something goes wrong or your database is gone wrong, your data is lost, or it has been blocked by ransomware, you don't have to pay the ransomware, right? You need to have to your data ready, whether it is online data or the data what we are keeping in the backup, that is ransomware protected. And second part is offline backup. That is important again, so that we can restore it better. And also like in the same time, do you have the organization have capability to have like, the downtime, whatever you are planning for RTO and RPO to be adjusted on that perspective. And third point is that you have to have the cyber insurance you're talking about. The, if it is data critical, definitely you should have something like cyber insurance. It can be protected your business as well, because the data which has been gone, you cannot be restored back again unless until you have your data in appropriate place, whether it is ransomware protected or like, whatever mean it is. And second is you have offline backups. So that is where the plays the data role, where how you can resilient and your organization putting into that without, let's say, that the way normal it is today you are operating. So that is where we have to see that if your main source is not there, what is the additional or what is that backup plan we have? And BCP is most critical and important for us, all of us. Yeah, whether it is a cyber attack or cyber ransomware or phishing, whatever may be. But second part is okay, it is the physical challenges, geopolitics challenges. You need to think about whether everything will be electronically fine, everything is digitization fine. But whatever if that is not available for some period, we have to have something in the offline as well as like something the backup restores. And you should have your management team to be aware and the communication plan into place. And there should be incident management policies or plan or team should be in place every organizations. That is the resilience you can bring into the table. And it is not that only have to cyber attack is going to happen. Whatever technology people process, you train them to make 100% best process in place. Definitely something is going to happen because something has been targeted, something has been sophisticated today, and something has been state sponsored as well. So we have to have ready for those. So what is important is sometimes we are talking about, Manoj has highlighted, it is not only always we have to be defensive. Sometimes we have to have our offensive strategy in place as well. That offensive strategy doesn't mean that we have to attack to someone, but you have to have your purple team in place in your team or organizations where you have to always do the simulation of forensic, like, offensive attacks. And you will see that how that happens, how your controls, wherever it is a web, network, or individual, or anywhere, how your controls are effective. That has to be tested every time. The way you do that, lot of like, when there is geopolitical challenges or war, is there definitely some organizations or there is a countries, they do some real cell part of it. So this is that like, the offensive simulations can bring you like, how much you are protected or how, what are the controls are effective in your organization, in your system, in your infrastructure, whether it is irrespective of whatever channel it is, whether it is a cloud or on-prem or hybrid, everywhere, like, you have to do that strategy in place, offensive strategy. So that is the key again. So people, process, technology, and the culture of the people, again, that is also bringing to the table where we have to have that right mindset, the thought to promote this resilience part of it. That is where, and you have to do the practices, though it is not there, but you have to be ready always. If something is not available, if my digital assets are not available, how I can take it up? But that is impossible. But still, if you lost your mobile today, we may not be knowing, I don't know your family's number as well today, the way it is happening, the way it has been adopted so high. So you have to have that resilience as well. This is just tips of iceberg we can highlight, but there are a lot of things happening on the land and underlining infrastructure, underlying strategies, as well as the resiliency part of it. As a organization, we should have that complete and thorough cyber security resilience strategy, defensive, offensive, both. Thank you. Over to you.
Thanks, Pradipta. I think that was a very well-rounded perspective that you brought to the table. Now, just adding to this, what you just said, a quick question to Amrish and Kalpesh, you as well. That from a perspective of Security Operations Center, right? And when we speak about security, resilience, protect, detect, prevent, respond, recover, I think Security Operations Center plays a very important aspect. And since you've been very close to security, you would have seen the evolution of the entire Security Operations Center. So very quickly, I mean, before I move to the next question, any thoughts on how it has progressed over the last couple of years, and where do you see it going from here?
Good afternoon, everyone. I think we are the only people between you and the lunch, so we'll try and make it good. Uh, I think what you asked is a great question, right? Because I think we did cover that there are two worlds: a world that was prior COVID and a world that is after COVID, right? So we can always go back and say, there was something like before COVID and after COVID. Uh, what we have really seen, and there is a significant changes, and anybody in this room, right, who didn't work from home in the past 3 years can raise their hands. Were you always working from office, sir? Sorry?
50%.
50%, exactly. So we've seen that that one incident in the industry triggered a lot of changes in the way we operate as an industry, and it didn't impact one industry; it impacted every industry. Right? The event that we're doing today, we're all virtual, right? Who thought about the board exams could be done online? We never anticipated. We didn't dream about it, right? It was happening, right? I think the previous session, Dhaval, or I think sir, you spoke about teleconsulting. I think Manish sir spoke about teleconsulting, telemedicine, right? And it changed a lot of things. So there are definitely a lot of efficiencies. Why I'm saying this is what has changed forever. We're not going to go back to the old world ever, because we are seeing efficiencies, we are seeing the benefits, and most important, everybody has realized that going digital is not an option. Rather, it's a survival. I would say, it's a strategy for survival, because we are seeing that if you continue with your traditional approaches, you are outdated, you are obsolete, and somebody else in the market will take over your position no matter how large you are. That's the reason we are seeing even and look at that in all the spaces, be that in the banking, right? See what is happening. UPI is running over everything, and be that the traditional players like our nationalized banks, or private sector banks, they're all rushing to get into a digital initiatives. Coming back to security, and I know Manoj would be thinking, have I deviated from the topic? No. It was just to kind of set the context very quickly. Now, when you really look at what has changed, right, there is a fundamental shift in security, because what used to be on-prem, again, our previous sort of speakers have covered it beautifully well. Everything was on-prem, right, as now moving on to cloud, because we realize that if you are on cloud, there is an element of availability. There's an element of being able to do the work seamlessly. And most important, there was a myth that cloud is only for large enterprises. However, with a lot of technology innovations, it's proved that small and medium enterprises, when they adopt or embrace cloud, they kind of achieve a saving which is minimum of around 40%. So that means this movement is going to happen. It means a couple of things from a security standpoint. It just says that the network, because in a on-prem you have a defined scope, a defined perimeter, that is gone, right? And that's gone forever. So that is one fundamental change. It again means that your endpoints are going to get more and more important, because today everybody connects from their homes, they connect from unsecured networks. You don't have control over that. So that has to significantly change. Uh, I think my previous speakers spoke about ransomware. They spoke about how our enterprise continue to get compromised, right? And business email compromise continues to be one of the most, I would say, prominent and one of the most popular ways of compromising the data. But there are also complicated and complex attacks nowadays. We have seen with Kasaya, we have seen it with, similar with one more application, right? So what if your application that you trust itself has a malware? What are you going to do about it? There is absolute nothing that you can do about it because you have to trust somebody, right? So the SOC of today is changing big time, right? It has to reposture itself. When I say reposture, because during COVID, we were on, everybody was on fire, everybody was firefighting. We had to get the systems up and running at some cost, right? At anyhow, that had to be done because it was impacting the productivity. I just feel that we have been rushing through so many things. We haven't really taken a step back to reassess our security posture, to reassess where are the exposures, and then come count, start working on it. Three basic principles, and I call it three mantras. If you take care of that, right, you can always go back to anyone and say that I'm a security expert, right? Because these fundamentals don't change, right? So if somebody says, "Do you know security?" Go back and say, "I understand and I know security." Why? Because I know in security, you should know what you're protecting. So it's inventory, right? When you have an inventory, second thing, along with that, you take care of compliance. We spoke about regulatory compliance, right? Localization is one part of it. Encryption is one part of it. When you use Aadhaar, right, you need to have Aadhaar vault because you can't use Aadhaar as is. So those are the things you have to be aware of it. So awareness of what all are your cloud instances and what are the compliance with which is impacted is primary. Second, and very important, is compute security. When I say compute security, it's nothing but your workload or your application or your data, right? How are you protecting that? So, ensuring that the vulnerabilities are remediated and operational level, they're all fixed, on a, I would not say real-time basis, but they're fixed on priority. And last and most important is basically taking care of your basically access and configuration of cloud. Because when you say cloud, right, people have a lot of fears about cloud, right? But it's not really much about it. The issues are about misconfiguration. The issues are about service APIs not configured well. The issues are about people trying to access it, because a cloud, you will have so many other tenants, right? And a poorly configured cloud is definitely waiting to be compromised someday. So those are the things you'll have to take care. So how do you do that? Again, basics, hygiene factors, apply least privilege. Now there are a lot of jargons. People call it zero trust. There are so many names to it. But if you go back to our old days, apply the access principle of least privilege. Ensure that you start managing that, right? And if you do that, you are going to be good on that. Post that, you could use all your tools. There is nothing that changes in SOC, right? It's more of, the SOC used to operate the same way. The tools of SOC are not changing. What would really happen is there are a lot of elements which are changing. So the SOC will have to then adapt to the change environments, right? Endpoint will have more importance, right? You would want to monitor the endpoint activities more closely, and that's why we are seeing AVs are outdated. AVs are absolute. So today, if your organization relies on AV, it is a ticking time bomb, because it cannot pick up any ransomware, it cannot pick up any malware. So now there is a EDR, there are XDRs, right? Which will do more analytics, which is nothing but data analytics, right? It can do a better correlation. Anything which is happening on your system, it can correlate with your network, it can correlate with various other devices and tell you, are you at risk or anything is an anomaly. I think those are the things we're seeing. It's changing, rapidly.
Sure. I think, great perspective again, and thanks for covering it so beautifully. And again, Amrish, your organization is a high-touch organization. I mean, consumer organizations are always organizations where people are required to be present in the premises and so on and so forth. So how has that changed for you? I mean, from a security perspective, from an availability perspective, what were the lessons that you learned in the last 2.5 years, and how have you used them to basically have a better security posture going forward?
Yeah, I think this is a very relevant question. I think sir talked about at length, and Pradeep also talked about at length. So if you talk about manufacturing, they never thought that they will do work from home. Right? And a lot of companies, they never thought. New age companies, there is always the option of, you talk about IT services, there is always the option of work from home. That is given. Manufacturing has their own challenges. So initially, I think initially they were learning how to tackle it. And then since a lot of things were done little before, So a lot of people, those who can work from home, they were given work from home. And then they started thinking about it, how to make these plants operational in a limited way. So the one is the safety, security, etc. We looked at from the technology and security perspective, because how to make those technology available and how people will access, at the same time making sure that COVID protocols, etc. Okay. So yes, initially there were some hiccups, lessons learned, etc. But today, if we talk about last 1.5 years or so, everything running very smoothly. Why? Because there was a leadership commitment, and we communicated well to the entire population what is expected, why we are doing this, and what we are doing it is benefit for the company and benefit for the employees. Okay, they realize it because they're not looking at entire world is facing this. So how my company reacting to this situation? Okay, then a lot of other schemes started, and then we started operating the businesses, and people were aligned naturally. Now, if we look at today, we have option of work from home seamlessly, as sir were talking about. Uh, Today, the boundaries are broken, but that's why you say every conference or you talk about every magazine, Zero Trust has gone, has taken a great momentum now. A lot of now technology are forming up around it. Okay. So these all are converging towards over a period of time. Probably we all as security professional, we are like to have a zero trust, but it will take a lot of time, a lot of resource, a lot of commitment, etc. And from the we also started the journey of the digital transformation, so that people realize the value of various nuances of digital transformation. Talk about cloud is a bigger piece, right? We talk about data analytics. We talk about RPA, how it is shaping the world. You're talking about data lake. Okay, so you have data lying in various corners. How to bring that entire data into a single place, and whoever wants to use it. And then this is the power of analytics. Correct. That is what we are leveraging right away. Okay, and all these things are happening. It is super important how to ensure the security of the data, the people awareness piece, and the processes. Otherwise, if you do the one piece in a faster pace and another piece of security on the lagging behind, probably you will learn lessons the hard way. A lot of organization learns lessons the hard way. A lot of things happens on natural way. A lot of things will happen the way you want to drive. Because certainly in security world, the hackers looking for a single window of opportunity, and we are trying to bridge millions of holes. And naturally, that game is not very logical, but still we are playing that game. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Add on to one point, I think Manoj's couple places also highlighted, but cybersecurity, that SOC is the way it has been operated pre-pandemic, or might be like, the way the technologies are coming up. Now it is not relevant. Even the Amresh also touch upon a lot of things. Today we need to look into that moral of the next generation SOC, where people may not be the relevant, though people are relevant for that ecosystem, but still we have to do our SOAR. That is what we are talking about. The last part of it is the response and the automations. We have to do a lot of things like, proactively, or response is faster or live. Then only we can protect our organization in the cybersecurity front. So that is what the new generation SOC, what you're talking about, more into the response and proactive and automate things to be like, blocked. Today, if something is happening in the end of the day or the mid of the night, we can't have to have people to be there to take action on that, right? We need to have your response to be automated so that you can take action immediately. The lateral movement, or might be like, some of that cyber attacks or ransomware which has been propagated in your network. So that to be stopped. And the way it is touched upon AV and EDR and all those, fine, those technologies are coming up, but somebody has to take action immediately. That is where the point is, the proactiveness and response. That is what the key. Thank you.
I think Amrish was saying something.
Yeah, I think your question was how the soft technology are forming up, shaping up, right? So I think if we talk about 20 years back, SIM came into. Today, still SIM is there. SOAR came in around 6, 7 years, 8 years back. Now SOAR at some maturity. Today we see XDR, right? Now I'd love to see how XDR is maturing. EDR, XDR game all together. The whole purpose of SOC is to give you more visibility, right? And if you have more visibility, you are able to. And if you talk about SOC today, you want to make the entire platform more intelligent. How? You want to put a lot of data, threat intelligence, user behavior. You are picking a lot of signals from the various technology are throwing there, right? So that is the intelligence of the platform, which is able to make sense. You are getting the contextual information, contextual actionable alerts. Till such time you're not getting actionable alerts, probably it is a lot of false positive, right? And we need to have very tightly coupled incident response plan, and you are rehearsing that plan. It's a cyber drill is utmost important. What we have seen is we have some big four has crafted very nicely crafted incident response plan. You never practice it. At the moment something happens, you open that plan, you realize that this is the irrelevant. A lot of people, those who are responsible for certain actions, have left the organization. Their coordinates have changed. So it's utmost important to practice that cyber drill and make those corrections into your cyber response plan. Make sure that your SOC partner, if it is outsourced or your inside SOC, participate into the cyber drill. Then only you will have end-to-end what you are thinking. The SOC will give you benefit. You will get it. Otherwise, all SOC, etc., everything will look nice when you present to management. But when things will go wrong, this will not play the role the way you want it.
Sure, thanks. A very valid point. And let me open this question to all of you. And this is related to what we just spoke about, the SOC or the Security Operations Center. Now we spoke about technology, right? But what about the people angle? So you may have the best XDRs, EDRs, SIM source, and whatnot. But if you look at today's situation, the kind of people that are required to man these systems or respond to events or incidents that happen, do we have the necessary skill set? I mean, just as an open question to all of you.
To be very honest, we have to build our skill internally, okay, as well as the resources are available in India. To be very honest, we are the first, to be the #1 populated country by 2030. So definitely, resources are there. How much we can build those resources into the right channel and give them the growth and the new technology which is coming up, we can give the hands-on and the exposure to them. If you talk about skill available, I will say that it is how we can build the leaders can build the team and make them to skilled and make them competency on those areas. So that is what I can say. But it is let's say it is a journey, it is a culture of the organization to build up or might be train the people on irrespective of the technology. But of course, if you see that reports, there is a skill gap, and we'll not find out the people like SOAR kind of, or might be certain kind of EDR certified people. Definitely enterprise is struggling, but definitely it is not far. If you can train them and make them to be an expert on those areas, then I think so the gap will be going soon.
I think I can just take it further from there. So I think Manoj, you rightly said, right, that as the SOC gets more complicated, do we have the right skill sets? A simple answer to that is there is a huge shortage of skill sets in the market today, right? It comes really from the fact that how many colleges today, right, in India support cybersecurity as curriculum itself is a challenge, right? So we can't take it away. Now, if there is any vendor who has told you that the tool is going to do all of the security and your people, so the tool becomes a human being and the human beings become robot, right? Then they have fooled you big time, because not today, not for the next at least 15 years, right? Do I see people not being playing a dominant role in managing security of your organizations, because tools will generate tons of data, right? And even today, you're facing a challenge of how do we analyze that data. So that level, because a tool with all your AI, ML, right? Talk about the jargon, put it there. It will still generate tons of data. So it had to be humans who will have to finally intervene, because tools cannot emulate emotions, right? A lot of it today works on the attacks are complicated. We're talking about anomaly, right? It's not possible, because a lot of it's related to emotions. There are factors which are beyond science today. So you have to really groom your teams. And how do you do that? Very simple. What do you do with your army, right? Does army have an opportunity to have a war every 2 years? Answer is no. But you keep them battle ready, right? So I think you need to, every organization has to ensure that their security staff is battle ready. When I say battle ready, it would be things like cyber drills, it would be ensuring that they're all trained on latest concepts and they are given the opportunities to be a part of these communities. Today, what we're talking is one of the community, but you have to encourage them so that they go back to the industry, they understand what is happening in the industry, and then they see what are the gaps and how they can fix on their own. I think that is my take on this.
uh, Slightly different perspective, just taking from what Mr. Kalpesh said. See, there's this book by Professor Yuval Harari, okay, Homo sapiens. In that, he had mentioned like around 70,000 to 30,000 years ago, there was a cognitive revolution. And due to that, we as humans were catapulted to the top of the food chain. Okay. If we take the current, say, AIs and bots and everything, we can say fairly say that this COVID is kind of a cognitive, say, automation which has come into play. Now, coming back to the question about, say, training, grooming the, say, humans, I say yes, humans will be required, but the question here is, can the technology make the human job easier so that he or she attends to the, say, SOC or any technology operations to the extent what is not possible by the AI or the ML or RPA or any bot. Okay. See, because ultimately, as Mr. Kalpesh said, there is tons of data being generated, and no matter the amount of people you put into SOC or IT infrastructure, okay, it won't be enough. So the point here is, uh, let the technology solve or do, as we say in development world used to call plumbing and all those plumbing codes, okay? Let it do all that, and only humans are required to take those intelligent decisions which the technology cannot solve. So my take is this.
Sure.
I'll take it from what the panelists have said. I don't think anybody here, every organization will have one or two positions open, and we are struggling to find the right skill for the organization, in cybersecurity mainly. Especially, I have 3, 4 positions. Last 5 months, we are fighting to hire. It shows that there is a skill gap. Okay, and resources are same. That's why you see attrition is very high in cybersecurity. Mainly, if we talk about, because that's why I say market is very hot. Hot is why? Because we have limited resources. So many people are reaching out to the candidates, and they have their own way of looking at various things. Second thing is, we as a CISO, there is a gap. We look at that this gap is going to be persistent. What we should do is probably, I do it, give opportunity to the interns, expose them to the cybersecurity, let them decide whether they want to go to which part of the IT, the cybersecurity, or they want to go to the traditional IT world. Second thing, third thing is, as sir was saying, academics, the universities. We have seen, now we are seeing a lot of universities are now coming up. So the one is the industry driving those universities. To there is a there is a industry is going up in this space. Why don't we also grow up that space so that we will be able to bridge that gap. We will be able to meet the requirement of the country and the world. But today, as rightly sir rightly said, we do not have that ecosystem. But and third one is the fourth one is the we as a parent, correct? We also need to tell our child there is a career in cybersecurity. I don't think very often we don't talk about our profession with our kids or our colleagues, because cybersecurity is very uh, forthcoming niche skill set job in our country. It has just maybe if we talk about just as started at some scale, it is going to be there. So it is very challenging, a very lucrative job. We should promote that. That is how we will be able to bridge this gap. Otherwise, this gap will always be there. We all will always be struggling. Thank you.
Sure. I think, very pertinent question, and that's the reason why I asked this question, because everybody today, be it consulting, industry, everybody struggles with the right skill sets, right? And like what you rightly said, the pool is finite, but the opportunities are, immense. Yeah. I'll again have an open question to the forum, and this is from a regulatory standpoint, right? Now, be it any organization, regulated, unregulated, it will come under the purview of, cyber incident reporting and so on and so forth, even from a perspective of data localization, data storage, and so on and so forth. So your perspective in terms of how the regulatory landscape is changing, again, a very short answer would do here. But and do you think are we doing enough from a regulatory standpoint towards cybersecurity, privacy, data governance?
Okay, I'll make it very short. I know we are actually now between the you and the lunch. Simple things. Incident reporting, certain has come out with new guidelines which are mandatory. So everybody's aware of it. So every incident, every security incident, every company, regardless of whether you're banking or insurance or pharma, you have to report your security incidents. For those of you who may not be aware, they have linked into your Data Protection Act, which means if they see a major non-compliance, there is a term. It is linked to IPC, which means there's a jail term of 1 year along with the fine. Usually it is and or. This is and. It's a jail term and fine, right? So every CISO today is struggling. Who will go to who will go behind the bars if a situation like that arises? So that is changing, right? Now every regulator, like banking, is definitely a sensitive field, is highly regulated. We see RBI playing a dominant role. They come out with guidelines. They come out with their own audits, and we see time and again when there are non-compliances, there are penalties, and there is a disruption to the services which are kind of introduced by our regulator. Every industry today, there are two concepts. Some industries will get regulated by somebody from government, and there are larger industries where government will believe that they can self-regulate themselves. So I think it's a balance, right? And I think everybody will try to achieve it, but everybody has to take security seriously, because as an industry, if they start believing that there has been complacency, then you would always see government will pitch in. What we saw in CERTIN is nothing but a complacency to report incidents, and that's the reason they have come out with a web that if you don't report, right, be ready to spend 1 year behind the bars. A lot of CISOs might actually be excited, because for a CISO, even jail is better than what they do every day, right? So said and done, but that is the reality of the day. So it is a very fine balance. Everybody will try to strike a good balance, and I think everybody has a role to play there.
I think until now, you rightly said, banking, fintech were highly regulated, right? Insurance sector. But what the government is trying to do is they want to bring that discipline into across the board, so that people take cybersecurity seriously, not by choice, but by it is enforced. So at least some level of symmetry is there all across, and people take it seriously. And if you put some punitive clauses, then only people take seriously. That is how we are developed as a culture, maybe our society is, right? Simple example, you see the people drive the bike, they'll keep the helmet on the hand. When they see the RTO police, they'll put it. They don't realize this helmet is not for the RTO guy, it is for your safety. So that was the regulation. Now it has come in Mumbai. Also, the pillion will drive he has to put on the helmet, right? Because we don't have that regulated, or maybe that culture itself, right? See, it has to do with the culture. They want to bring that into it. And I think there are a lot of backlash also happened with the certain guidelines. And they quickly redefine, they give some relaxation till 30th September to comply with. But I think a lot of movements are happening, data privacy around the corner. And they're also learning from the other part of the world how the other government regulatory are reacting to certain things. And they're, I'm able to see that a lot of traction is happening, a lot of movement is happening in cyberspace at government level, at industry level, and all across the board.
Sure, thanks. And I think just a concluding question, and Padma Bhushan and Pradipta to you, is see, I think the effectiveness of a cybersecurity program completely depends on the awareness. I mean, that's just what I believe, right? Absolutely. I mean, you may have the best written plans, you may have the best technology available to you, but if you don't have, aware or self-aware people, then your entire plan goes for a toss. Yeah. So what is it that you as an organization is doing towards building awareness, and not only for your employees, but say your customers, your third-party vendors, and so on and so forth, the entire ecosystem?
Yeah, thanks for this bringing to this cyber security awareness. It is most crucial or critical part of the value chain. What you're talking about, the resilience part of it, cyber security part of it, IMS is part of it. Today, cyber security is everyone's responsibility. That is what we are bringing to the table for, like, bringing to or sending the communication to all our partners, customer, employees, whoever it is. See, the cyber security is nothing like, today if you are using your mobile app at your mobile, still like, same thing. You are how you know that pin, you don't need to share to the pin to everybody. The similar way, it is like, moral of the your password never share to anybody. So some of the small basic part of it, but still like, we need to have the effective training. Today, what is happening is every enterprise is having the check the box for the training cyber security awareness, but that is not the effective. How can you make this cyber security training much effective? Whether you can do the simulation, whether it is today, if you see most of time, the phishing attacks or social engineering is the most vulnerable for that employees. So how we can say, like, at least give the awareness to them, whether it is the phishing campaign kind of, or you can run a campaign like, as a month, cyber security month, something that, then we can send the communication to them. Then still like, you can do the simulation of phishing. Like, every week we can have a phishing lab, then we can see that, then give them training to them. Then we can see that effectiveness of the training. Then you can do the final last part of the simulation. You can see the growth, it is down. Then we understand that there is effectiveness. Something that we are doing as an organization. At the same time, we are also face-to-face discussions with them. Also, that today, so many mails are coming to us. We see that this looks like phishing mail. So we understand now, everybody understand now there is a phishing things, phishing attacks are happening. And also we are creating a cyber security awareness. And also same time we are saying that you guys are like, human firewall. So we are making them as a responsible. You are participating in the cyber security program, as well as you are contributing to the organization, identifying the phishing mails. So this is what we have to create them accountable, responsible as well. So that is where the effectiveness comes for the any organization, customer, or consumers. Thank you.
Yeah. So, in say public sector organizations or say quasi-public like what IDPI is, the approach is like top-down and both bottom-up. Top-down when I say the CISO or the Chief Risk Officer, okay, to which the CISO ultimately reports. So those people have now a seat in the say the IT committees of the board, the fraud risk committees of the board, and every quarter there is a presentation by the CISO on the general awareness about security, what it means in terms of the say security incidents, security say technology evolution regarding security, and they would want to know about that. So there's a great awareness at the top regarding security. When we say bottom up, in addition to the say regular trainings and things that are carried out, so every week there's say something like the way we have patch Tuesdays, so there's a security Saturday. Okay, because we are still working on say two alternate say Saturdays, so there's a security Saturday we carry out. Then there is a good amount of say do's and don'ts, which are actually say involve the vendors as well as the employees. Okay, whenever they are given a new asset, IT asset, or when a new joinee has joined the bank, or whether a new vendor or a vendor employee has say been deputed to the bank's premises. So these are some small steps being taken in addition to the regular say certifications, cyber drills, or the honeypot exercises that are carried out periodically. So this is way how it is managed currently.
Sure. Thanks. Amrish, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just add the two conceptually probably which are you working. One is, see, cybersecurity is a very dry subject. Okay, so how to make it more interesting to the leadership and all the employees is our challenge. If you solve, second thing is, if you bring while doing awareness, if you bring the personal element to it, it means whatever you learn here, it is going to affect personally also. You as a individual, if you have, if you understand the cyber security when you're doing a net banking, when you're responding to various calls, it is going to affect, it is going to impact positively to your personal life also. Then that interest will come into play. So that is, I think there are two aspects broadly. If you strategically, I'll talk about on cyber awareness. And parents have, other panelists have already said.
Sure, thanks. And I think that really brings us to the end of the discussion. Anybody, any questions? We'll quickly take a couple of them.
I'm sure they're asking.
Okay, okay. All right. So I think thanks all of you. I think it was a great session. I'm sure everybody got a lot to learn from this. And with further ado, I'm saying thank you very much once again. Thank you.
Our esteemed panelists for this wonderful discussion. We would like to present all of you with a small token of gratitude by Mr. Ravi Gupta, who is the CEO of Elets Technomedia. Sir, I would like to welcome Mr. Padma Bhushan Bhadure, Chief Technology Officer, IDBI Bank Limited. Mr. Ambrish Singh, Chief Information Security Officer, Godrej and Boyce. Mr. Pradipta Patro, Head of Cybersecurity and IT Platform, KEC International Limited, RPG Group. Mr. Kalpesh Toshi, Chief Information Security Officer, India and Southeast Asia, FIS Global. And this panel's moderator today, Mr. Manoj Ajgaonkar, Director Cyber Services, Grant Thornton, Bharat LPP. So if you would please like to give the magazines as well and pose with the... Thank you so much, all our dignitaries. I would request everyone to proceed to the lunch area for the lunch break right now, and we will assemble over here at 2:15 p.m. because we have the next panel discussion which begins at 2:20 p.m. Thank you so much.